the world is engineered. Our society is engineered for 85 to 115.
Yep.
People are comfortable there. Things are done that way.
Yep.
And so if you're outside of that, it's a frustrating place. And it's frustrating because you're like, you can totally see the inefficiencies. It's like, why not just fix that? It'd be so easy to fix, but just freaking fix it.
If you're
And it's so
outside of that on the
frustrating.
high side, you're saying.
Yeah, on the high side, yeah.
Because I think it's frustrating if you're outside of it either side, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But it's designed and engineered for that, range. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is where we discuss current events, personal growth, and any other random topic that crosses our minds. Our goal is to have a meaningful discussion that help us to see the topics we discuss more clearly. Our hope is we can help you expand your self-awareness, develop your critical thinking, and learn to be less reactive to the world around you. And most importantly, remember, be curious. If you like what you hear, like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment. We want to hear what you think. Chris, episode number 50. 50.
Number 50.
That's right, 50. That's right, Chris. And we're honing in on 1 million views by the end of the year. That's our goal.
That's your goal. That's now my goal. Got it.
Okay, there we go. That's our goal, actually. So we'll see how that works out. So what are we going to talk about?
We could talk about anything we talked about this morning. We could talk about 1 million views. We could talk about being sick. We could talk about what else? We talking about people getting emotional over buying houses and rebuilding houses and buying cars. I mean, marketing and we talk about the tea that I'm drinking this morning instead of coffee. I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
I do like the conversation that you brought up that people are sheep just led around. I do like that. And and so I'm blaming pretty much everybody and myself because I'm led around about probably on 95% of the things too. I feel like I'm just starting to wake up and just starting to see just how led I actually am.
I think there's layers of being led around. There's stuff that we all know we're being led around by and we accept it. There's stuff if we start to think about a little more deeply, we go, oh yeah, this is like culturally we're being told we need to do this, or that marketing campaign is making me want to buy that or whatever. We recognize it if we take the time, but I think there's a lot of stuff that's just ingrained so deeply in us we don't even realize that it's controlling our actions.
Yeah.
Maybe it's cultural values, it could be religious values, it could be or things about how the government's constructed and how we act.
Yeah.
Right.
And those things are all fine. I guess what I want to do for me personally and everybody listening to that is I'm not saying change anything. I'm just saying instead of just being pulled around without your will, at least just saying, yeah, I'm making that choice. That's a good choice. That's all I'm asking for. Just become aware. And a lot of the rituals and things are good things. I think they're great things. I'm not suggesting change things. I'm just suggesting just become a little more aware of what is actually what's driving you. And more than likely, it's not your choice.
I think, though, there's something in the American psyche that we don't like to think that we're being controlled in any way.
Well, yeah.
So if we get self-aware enough to realize how we're being controlled, and it doesn't mean by people necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean it's by individuals with a nefarious purpose. It could just be a cultural norm or value that's controlling us.
Yeah.
But we have a tendency to rebel against that.
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying rebel. I'm saying just make a choice. Maybe you decide not to do that. And we have a lot of freedom, so it's not like you have to do that. It's not like you have to spend 3 hours a night watching Netflix. I mean, it's not like you have to.
Not an option for me. I don't have Netflix.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. It's not like you have to do a lot of things. They're not required. But people just do them because most of the time they're just convenient and easy and,
I wonder how much of it is, yeah, like you said, convenient, easy, because of laziness, basically.
Yeah, laziness. I mean, and I don't want to, go too far down the lazy because I think probably a lot of the behaviors, I mean, some are definitely lazy, no doubt about it. But I think some of them or most of them are probably just that's just the way it's kind of done, and you're just like, okay. So I'm gonna insult
Scott,
like a whole
can you center your head a little bit? I think it'll be easier for
center my
splicing
head.
tool, for the editing tool later.
Well, that means I gotta go up higher. Hang on, let me do this.
Yep.
So here's what I'm thinking, Chris. Man, how high do I need to? Oh no, I need to do angle. That's what I need to do. Here's what I'm thinking. So I've been like basically just pissed off this whole last week, right?
Okay.
And I don't even know why I'm pissed off. But I think I'm pissed off because I'm starting to realize I think my IQ is higher than the average person, actually. And
Yeah?
so I was watching a video, and you're actually smarter than me in some areas, but dumber than me in other areas, actually. So, anyways, so here's what I watched this YouTube video that was so interesting. While I adjust my camera, I'm making little paper shims to try to increase the angle. Okay, there we go. Now my head's
That looks better.
So here's what I found. So the average IQ is 100. That's like smack dab in the middle of the bell curve. And then how many standard deviations left or right of that? So this is what the
85 to
video,
115 is considered. So 100 be smack dab in the middle, like you said. 85 to 115 is the normal range.
yeah, that's funny because that's exactly the numbers like I was going with, 85 to 115. So basically, the world is engineered. Our society is engineered for 85 to 115.
Yep.
People are comfortable there. Things are done that way.
Yep.
And so if you're outside of that, it's a frustrating place. And it's frustrating because you're like, you can totally see the inefficiencies. It's like, why not just fix that? It'd be so easy to fix, but just freaking fix it.
If you're
And it's so
outside of that on the
frustrating.
high side, you're saying.
Yeah, on the high side, yeah.
Because I think it's frustrating if you're outside of it either side, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But it's designed and engineered for that, range. And so that's why I'm constantly pissed off, I think.
Because the world is designed for dumber people than you.
Like if you're saying like, hey, why don't you just fix this thing? It's like, I've been sitting here watching your process for 5 minutes. You keep doing the same thing. You could literally increase your efficiency like 20% just by changing a couple things. It would take like 30 minutes to change. And they're just like, no,
So,
I'm not going to do it.
all right. So, Scott, Steelman, why they don't do it?
Because they don't see it.
Okay.
I mean, the thing,
Is
the
that
only
something
thing,
that can be taught?
no, they don't see it. So here's the thing with intelligence. I'm going to zero in on IQ. Basically, the only thing that it means, and it's highly flexible, right? And I'm not talking about like your effective IQ. I'm talking about like your max potential IQ, like the brain God gave you. And basically, the only thing it doesn't mean good or bad. All it means is you just can see patterns quicker than other people can. That's all it means, in my opinion. And then based upon how quickly you can see pattern depends on all sorts of things. How well you take care of yourself, are you tired, your anger, your emotional state. There's a million things that can like bring that down. How distracted you are, all of those sorts of things. And so I just wonder if this brain thing that I'm doing is actually somehow reorganizing my brain in some way I don't really understand. Because I'm starting to get clear. I'm starting to not be led around by all these little idle distractions anymore, which is so interesting.
How are you assessing that you're not being distracted? I'm not going to
Just how it
discount the
feels.
fact that you might be
There's-
right, but saying that without some way of measuring that, I don't know that I believe that.
Yeah, no, I got you. I just because I say so. I mean, that's it. That's my proof. I mean, it just feels that way. Now, I have no metrics. I didn't do any sort of evaluation or whatever like that. But I just
So
feel
you're going off your feelings on this one without any. So you're not using your intellect on this. You're using a. What is it that is making this judgment call?
Well, I mean, I am doing things. So, like certain things, like when I read an email, I used to read an email, and it was like maybe I have to go through it a couple times, but it's like I don't need to reread an email anymore. I'm like I just got it right away. I'm seeing the pattern before I hang on. Let me think about that, and then I have to run through it again. And so that stuff's like going away now. I'm just able to get to like answers quicker. I'm able to hold like maybe one more thing in my head. Like before, maybe I could hold 3 or 4 digits in my head. Now I can hold like 5 or 6. So just little things like that. Like for instance, like the other day, right? I had to send a UPS tracking number to somebody. And so normally what I do is I chunk it down into 3 or 4 digits. I'd remember them, copy them in. Well, this thing, I chunked them just down into like 2 digits, like 6 or 7 each. I don't know. I just remember them. I boom, put the one chunk, boom, did the second chunk instead of maybe doing like 4 chunks as before. So just little things like that I'm kind of noticing.
So I'm inclined to agree in the things that you're noting. I'm not connecting it to the thing you're doing to make it happen yet, though.
Well, I don't know. It's like all I do is I sit in a chair and they put this magnetic thing on your brain and you do it for 24 minutes, actually. And it's supposed to like reorganize your...
So you got a whole package of these?
Yeah, it's very expensive. It's $3,000 for like 6 sessions or whatever. So, but it's FDA approved. I did a ton of research. I did all this extensive research on Grok. Grok's like absolutely, it's a real
approved,
thing.
Or is there's another term that they use?
I don't know. It feels like I'm getting more clear.
No, what I'm saying is the FDA has several different ratings that they use, and many devices that aren't considered. Well, gosh, I don't know what the terminology is. Some devices, their approval is not really an approval. It's like the FDA said, yeah, whatever you want to do. It's like,
I don't know.
Oh, that doesn't look like it's going to cause a problem. So yeah, you can go ahead and do it. So it's not truly approved.
I didn't dig into that.
So there's you got to be careful when you're talking medical devices. There's different terminology that's used to describe them. You know, is it a class 1 medical device? Is it a class 2 medical device? All those things have an impact.
I don't know. It just says it's FDA approved, whatever. So
what was it called again? Something brain?
Exobrain. Exomind.
Exomind. Okay. I did look it up after you mentioned it, and it was like, it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, so I want to try it. So, anyways, I don't know, but it just seems like it could be placebo effect. I don't know, and it really doesn't matter because it's kind of working. But it could be combined.
If you believe it, and first of all, if you believe it. Second of all, if you're actually getting better results. Now that seems more anecdotal to me, but if you actually believe it, that's the other aspect too, right? So
yeah. I believe, since I've paid a lot of money for it, I believe this is working. So it could be that just I don't know, and I don't think it really matters. I'm getting a good result from it, So anyways, that's interesting. Along with doing,
well, you believe you're getting a good result from it, and anecdotally, it sounds like you are.
Yeah. So I think it's worth it. And then along with that, I'm doing more exercise, cold showers, improving my sleep. I know last week when we met, I was like at a 7.5 hour sleep deficit. Now I'm 0. So I've caught up on my sleep. So who knows? Maybe that could be a big part of it.
That might be it. I was going to check my mine because I haven't looked at it recently. I've been trying to get more sleep just in general, but that requires just to actually be in bed. So
yeah, that's one of the factors.
Let's see while it updates. Was it you said something? So, you said we cannot teach people how to be more aware or observant of things, right? So you said you see the inefficiencies in the way the world is designed, and you get frustrated that others don't fix things and make them better.
Yeah, because they don't see it.
And I said, he goes, and you said they don't see it. And I said, can we teach that to them? You said no. And
I don't think.
And I want to unravel that a little bit because I think you can to an extent.
Well, but you can't teach pattern. I mean, either you see things or you don't.
No, so I disagree with you on an idea, and let me state this, and you can tear it apart.
Okay.
So, wisdom versus intelligence. So years ago, I used to play. Years and years ago, I used to play D&D, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And they had these 2 different stats, wisdom and intelligence. And we'd have conversations on like, what's the difference between wisdom and intelligence?
Yeah.
And I think IQ is the intelligence, but wisdom is knowledge usually applied to it's applied knowledge about life is the kind of the way
Yeah.
I view it, right?
Yeah, like applied
And so
knowledge. Yeah.
you could have someone who I don't think is as intelligent as a really smart person. It can't be unintelligent. That's a different thing. But who's maybe an average intelligence, but who has a wealth of experience and has been able to process that experience, that knowledge. So what I'm wondering is, can we give people the knowledge, which equates to the wisdom, to understand how to look for patterns, to understand how to find them? So it won't be as inherent as someone who intellectually sees the pattern, but that doesn't mean we can't teach someone to look for the pattern and find it. So it would be a slightly different pathway is what I'm getting at. So I'm wondering, because I think, the perfect mix is intelligence and wisdom,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
basically
Right.
intelligence. That's intelligence, knowledge, and time. Wisdom is knowledge and time is kind of the way
Yeah.
I view it. So
Yeah.
intelligence, knowledge, and time would be the perfect. But you're really harping on the intellect part of that, and I'm wondering, with people who don't have the intellect, can we compensate by increasing their wisdom and time?
Well, we can definitely compensate for it, but they're still not going to see patterns. But what we can do is we can train them in patterns that totally work. For instance, right? If you want to learn jujitsu, it's like you don't need to derive new jujitsu patterns. There's plenty that exist. All you need to do is just practice them over and over and over again. So you don't have to engineer it, but you can apply it and you can be incredibly effective.
So can I say then, and you're not going to like this, that jiu-jitsu then doesn't need much intellect, it needs much more wisdom?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You got to learn from your body. You got to have to feel it and experience it. Oh, 100%.
So
Yeah.
so jiu-jitsu is less intellectual, more experience and knowledge, wisdom based.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
No,
So I guess what I'm getting at is, it feels like you're placing a high value on intellect, but that may only be relevant to certain approaches to life or certain things you're trying to do.
yeah, only if you want to solve
Wisdom
new-
might be what you're looking for in other areas.
Well, yeah, you definitely need both, because intellect without the wisdom and compassion and love is basically worthless, right? But I'm saying, though, in order to solve new problems that have never been solved before, typically those are done from people with higher IQ levels, because they can connect. They're like, wait a minute, we did this, and then wait a minute, that dot over there. Oh, those
That
things actually connect.
feels right to me. Let me make sure, because sorry, that feels accurate to me. It also feels wrong from an ethical or a moral standpoint. But let me think about that for a moment. I think it's accurate, because I think the intellect is what connects dots. It's what sees things that don't have an immediate relationship that everyone else would see.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying IQ equals
Whereas
pattern
the
matching.
wisdom is, you've seen that relationship somewhere before, and therefore you're able to say, "Hey, I've seen this." But my idea of like a village elder, the wise woman, or whatever,
right.
is she's experienced so much of life. She's seen that thing before.
Yeah.
So
right.
quite often when you talk to the stereotypical grandmother in a family, right? She'll know, having met people, like, oh, that person's going to get divorced, and that person's going to, or these people are going to get married, and it isn't just that they're prescient that they can see the future. It's they've got enough life experience to see this type of person and this type of person have worked well together in the past, or have not worked well together in the past.
Yeah,
right?
right.
And then they're using knowledge and time, which is wisdom.
Yeah.
Right.
It's still pattern matching. It's still the same thing. It's
pattern matching, but it's pattern matching. It's recognizing patterns. Oh, gosh, it's a different. No, it isn't quite the same thing, right? Because one is pattern matching through experience, things that you've seen, whereas intellect is pattern matching things that you haven't seen.
Yeah, it's more like able to derive
right.
something.
So it's all pattern matching. In fact, if we want to just say this, we could say that all mind functions are a form of pattern matching, which is maybe why AI is pattern matching at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
It's just that intellect is pattern matching to unknown, to as yet unseen patterns, and wisdom is pattern matching to prior patterns.
Yeah, and in fact, this will probably mess people up, but the essence of AI doesn't come from thinking about things and making a guess. are making a prediction. AI comes from making a guess and then asking, well, how close is this to reality? And then it back propagates and makes a better guess next time. It's normally times we look at all this stuff, we think, okay, now here's my guess. But actually AI does it backwards. It guesses first and then says how close was
You're
that?
saying that we don't think that way? We don't make the guess?
I think we think more. I don't think AI thinks like us. It uses a different, because AI is always very careful to say, I don't think like humans.
So yesterday's Toastmasters was about focus and clarity. And we had a couple people not show up for speaker, so I went ahead and did speaker, and I took one of my speech ideas, which was facts versus probability.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact that people always state probabilities as fact.
Yeah, right.
Right. But they never occurred. Right. So the concept of goes, this is going to happen. Or that will never happen, right? And we don't know that for a fact if it never does. So
that's a prediction,
the example I gave was when the U.S. bombed Iran, was the idea that I was talking to a guy saying, were we justified to do that? And he said, yes, we were, because Iran was making nuclear weapons and they were going to bomb Iran. And he actually said in his statement, that's a fact.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? Without getting into the judgment of what was right or wrong, I said, those aren't facts.
Yeah,
those are probabilities that you've weighed or someone has weighed that you believe in, right?
Yeah.
And the simple fact of the matter is we don't, they did not happen, therefore they're not facts. They're just things that you've rated as highly probable.
Yeah.
So let's back to my idea of semantics. Let's get very clear on what is factual and what is not.
Yeah, right.
And let's also get comfortable with the idea that quite often we're making decisions on probability.
Of course. Yeah, right.
Right? Even when you say, should I take route A or route B to work?
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to look and judge maybe which one's more likely to have a traffic accident. Well, this one is a bigger road. They go faster. If they have a traffic accident, it's gonna block it for hours. Maybe I'll take route B, right? Or route B is through the mountains and it rained last night, so there's I can go through all kinds of scenarios to say what the higher probability is, and then I can make a decision off it. And there's nothing wrong with making a decision on probability. In fact, that's mostly what we do in life.
Yeah.
But understanding that it's not a fact, I think, is the tough thing. People state things as fact that just aren't fact.
Yeah, right. That's how AI does it. If it doesn't really know, it just makes it up, right?
So wait. Okay. So if AI can hallucinate, does that mean when people don't really get the facts, they're hallucinating?
Of course, same thing. Actually, people hallucinate all the time.
So when you talk to someone who's far to one side on an opinion and has no facts to back it up, or is ignoring other facts, they're basically hallucinating.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can we come up with a better term? Can we come up with a term for hallucinating that is only for AI?
I think they call it a hallucination. I mean, I think people, I call it, they make shit up, basically. That's what I call it.
No, but what I want to do is come up with a term that is strictly an AI term for hallucination, and then apply it to humans.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they call it hallucinations in AI, but I don't know that that's only an AI term. I don't know, actually.
I want to be able to insult people's thinking by calling them machines. So, right, it's basically what I'm looking for a more intellectual way to backhandedly insult someone's thinking.
Oh, you could just call it MSU if you want. There's some MSU thinking right there, So
MSU is which one? Oh, got it. Yeah. All right. What you just said.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be all proud. Oh, I do MSU thinking.
Exactly. You think it's a university? Yeah, it's a university or something.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm thinking. And here's the thing, Chris, is that typically the higher the IQ that you get, you're now more and more disconnected from society. So it's a little bit of a curse at the same time. Because I just can't sit around with the guys drinking beer, cheering on a football team. I'm like, this is freaking stupid. But they're happy pappy with it, They're so happy. I'm like, it is just not my thing.
So, Scott, is that an intellectual thing, or is there some other aspect of that goes into play? So, going back to the idea that our behavior is controlled by culture or by things that we don't even realize. if you grow up in a culture where sports is what the family values, and
Yeah,
you know
right.
all your entertainment is going to sporting events and the like, and you know your whole family takes identity from being a whatever fan,
Yeah, right.
right? Then intellect may understand that that's not really a particularly valuable thing from a intellectual standpoint, but they might still value it, right? So 'cause I've seen
Yeah.
several people that I consider very bright who are sports fans.
Yeah, and
Not
I
as
don't have a
many. No, the number is lower than what I would count. You know, what I would go and say that is the average intellectual in society,
yeah.
right? And I would wonder if we measured the bell curve of intelligence against the bell curve of active sports fans, I do wonder how they match up.
Well, I mean, I would think that that the standard society stuff is tuned for 85 to 115 IQ. That would be my guess.
And I would actually probably say it's actually tuned on the lower half of that
Could
because
be.
someone at a 100 can probably understand a 90 and still feel comfortable in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe if
Yeah.
you're 115, you can understand a 95 and still feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And so I guess there's probably a variance, right? Like how many points away from the norm can you be and still feel like you're part of society?
Yeah, yeah, probably one standard unit deviation, probably maybe two. As it increases, you start to get more and more as to be an outcast. But here's the thing. Here's the point that I want to make. It does not tie increased IQ does not tie into more effectiveness or into making more money. In fact, most of the time, people that are not as bright will make way more money because they act. They bias towards action, and that's what makes money.
Well,
Now,
is
it's
it
not.
well? Yeah, bias towards action is one thing. I think there's a secondary thing. Is I think that there's a higher likelihood that the goals for success that those people, the people who are successful, are measuring off of, are more focused on things that get results that we would say are tied to success. So they're about money. They're about getting whatever certifications they need to get more money. They're about
Yeah,
getting
right.
the specific education, which could be from doing, actually building, like you said. Those are all tasks that align with what we would say are the success goals. Whereas
Yeah.
I think someone, when you get highly intellectual, might get into not have those goals. Their
Yeah,
goals
yeah.
might be about learning. Their goals might be about discovering. Their goals might be about exploring. Their goals might, and really not care about the money success side of things,
Yeah, right.
right?
Right.
And
Could
so,
be, yeah.
so the intellect is not necessarily. I think a certain amount of intellect is tied towards more success in society, in
Yeah,
life.
you have to have a certain amount,
Right?
but yeah.
But there's a point where it's a diminishing return because it's actually you're getting too intellectual at that point.
Yeah, yeah, and then you reduce action. Yeah, exactly. And but
Right.
but it's interesting. Like when the exceptional people come up, like you have an Elon Musk who's maybe at genius or maybe a little below genius, but incredibly driven at the same time. Man, when you pair those things together, now that's when crazy stuff happens.
So maybe there's a wisdom. So I'm going to go back to wisdom here because I'm wondering
Yeah.
if wisdom is the component that allows you to act. You know that in order to succeed, you've got to show motion, you've got to show progress, you've got to show that you get things done,
Yeah.
right? And someone intellectual may understand that, but someone who's wise may believe someone who's intellectual might believe that, but someone who's wise might understand that and therefore weigh more heavily on acting and moving. So I'm wondering if maybe someone with a slightly higher intellect also with I'm wondering if the most successful people actually have a higher intellect and a higher wisdom than the average person. And then what we're seeing in a high IQ person is really just the intellect and not the wisdom to go with it.
Perhaps, and I don't know that I'd call it wisdom. I would call it more a pull. Because I remember on Joe Rogan's show, Elon Musk was talking. He says, "Oh, everybody, says, oh, I wish I was Elon Musk." And he says, "No, literally, you don't want to be me because I am tortured. It's like I am just like I don't have a choice to turn my brain off. It's like I cannot do this, and a lot of times I don't want to do this, but I can't not do it, and it's miserable most of the time." So I don't know that it's a form of wisdom. It's just maybe you're just compelled to do something.
Okay. So what would you equate that to? What part of the psyche is that?
I don't know. It's just for some reason your DNA is just made to just you're one of those handful of people that move society forward. You're a Bill Gates, you're a Elon Musk, you're a what's the Apple guy, Steve Jobs. You're just one of those guys. And I don't know
Yeah.
that you have a good life. You're
Well,
probably miserable most of the time.
so what is it that makes someone like that not miserable? What do you think makes him miserable?
Well, I know that Elon Musk, he said it because I can never turn it off. It's like my brain
Turn what
won't.
off?
Turn the thinking, I gotta move, I gotta do this. Always.
Okay, there are
always
two different things there. Thinking and I gotta move, two different things.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. One's IQ with the ability, how good of thinking. The other is just this drive, like
Because
compelling.
I
right?
can't turn my brain off usually, and,
Okay.
and unless I'm sleeping and I don't even know what it's doing then. So I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about that. I'm not going to say I'm Elon Musk, but I'm constantly thinking about how things could be better and the like. I just don't feel the need to change them.
Okay, yeah, this might be different. This is I think this is like a drive that you don't necessarily want and you feel compelled. You can't.
Yeah, see,
not
I,
do it.
I don't feel that, right?
Okay, yeah.
I
yeah.
think I have a lot of we could do this, we could do that. This is how we could improve that. This is how they could improve that. This is that stuff is going through my head. I can
Yeah.
even plan out the steps by which I would implement that.
Yeah, right.
I just don't want to be the one to implement that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
feel like it has to happen so badly that if no one else steps up, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, then you're not tortured by it. Like
Right? If you don't care enough about it to do it, then why
Yeah.
should I care enough about it to do it?
Yeah.
It's kind of the way I view it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this driven compulsion that you cannot do it, and
which I don't
it's
get.
not fun. It's not good.
Yeah. So I don't know what that is then.
I don't know what that is. It's probably very rare. I'm sure there. And Musk is saying, like, again, I'll repeat it. He said that so many people they can be, oh, I wish I was you, and he's like, no, you don't, because I'm miserable.
This is where we go back to the idea. No, you wish you had the things that he had.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't wish to be the person he is who got him there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So I want all the money and the houses and the power and I want all this stuff and I want all this influence. But
Yeah.
do you really want to be what it took to get there?
As you can never rest, you can never
Right.
relax. It's always another. We're always,
Well, not just that. The decisions that had to be made treat people the way that you do, and not that you purposely do treat people badly, but you have a way of treating people that is what got you where you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And some people are really good at being nice to people and getting what they want. Other people are really good at pushing people around and getting what they want. I mean, there's different ways of being. And so,
Yeah.
do you really want to be all the things that make Elon Musk what he is?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have his influence. It'd be nice to have his dollars to be able to make change. I mean, when you've got that much money and you can spend it left and right to make things happen, that's pretty damn impressive.
That's impressive. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Whether he has a great life, I don't know.
I mean, he also. We look at his personal life, and I think we would judge him as not having a great personal life.
Yeah.
The amount of times he's married, the amount of kids he's had, all those things I think tie together to show that he's not a great member of society from a family standpoint. I don't think.
Yeah.
And when you judge him, and you look across other things, he's also. As smart as he is he really aware of the impact of the things he says, or is he not aware of the impact of the things he says? He's smart enough. Everyone goes, "Oh, he should know that not to say those things or whatever." But I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. That doesn't even click in his mind. The
I
path
don't know
he's
that
going.
he cares. Well, that's
Right?
EQ. That's a different metric.
And so like it's EQ, but I think there's a little more than that. Like so when he was smoking pot. And he made the joke about Tesla stock going to 420.
Yeah.
Right. And then he got slapped with a fine by the SEC saying he was trying to manipulate the price.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, was he just trying to be funny? Which I think he was just trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Right. And then you got an overreaction from the government, but then again, in the position he's in, maybe everything not you and I say something. We don't have the same impact as someone of that stature saying something.
Oh,
so people need to be aware of the impact they have. I think this is one of the complaints that we get about our politicians quite often, is that they have a lot more impact than people think. And so so what ends up happening is you can't say the same things that the man on the street or the woman on the street can say.
Yeah. Unless you
The
have a
person on the street can
massive
yell their opinion about whatever they want to, even if it sounds racist
and
or prejudiced or bigoted or whatever. When you get someone in a position of political power or social power to say that, then you really worry about, okay, you can think what you want. Can you really say what you want? Because you're going to get slapped if you do.
yeah, there's no doubt. But he's got enough power where he can have attorneys clean all that up, right? So
I don't know. When he was on Doge, all kinds of crap was coming his company's way, right? People
yeah.
were getting rid of their Teslas and burning Tesla dealerships and all that kind of stuff. And you get people angry enough, doesn't matter. All that crap's coming your way. So
I know. I just saw a thing on him on Joe Rogan. He was talking about the corruption in the government and he was saying, "Man, I can't tell you that my death threats increased like dramatically during that time." So I'm like, "Oh, there." But at some point, he's like, "That's just part of the, that's just people want to kill me."
It's part of what's accepted now, right? Because people are very frustrated about a lot of things that are going on in the world. And so we're at a point where people don't humanize the other side of their to a level where it's now acceptable to think of violence towards people. It's one thing to say, "Oh, I wish that person wasn't there," and I wouldn't be sad if they had a car accident.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
It's another thing to actually wish someone dead.
Well, yeah, but it's always been like that. I mean, I don't think there's the same human behavior for thousands of years.
I think there's always been a level of that, but I think the overall economic success of the average individual in society dictates how much attention you pay to that. So when you're frustrated all the time with your life because you don't have enough funds to do whatever, you think about arguing and complaining a lot more than when things are going fine.
Well, and social media just makes it. Now, the speed of information travel happens so much faster.
Speed of information is the other thing, right? I mean, the fact that in one day you're going to see more information than your grandparents got in a year.
Yeah. And you can be very much of a coward about it because, you can do something on social media. There's no physical impact as opposed to saying it to somebody's face. It's there's the risk level is much lower,
The risk level is lower and the access is much higher. So
right.
Before, access to media would have been like a newspaper writer or a radio reporter or something like that. It wasn't everyone who could do it. Yeah. Now everyone can get on and say something, and you're actually rewarded for saying things that stray from the boring truth.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody just wants to get social cred and likes and hit the dopamine and all this other sort of stuff. So it's just
make a dollar or whatever. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, exactly. And it's just maybe that's
and when you play to someone's fear, when you play to someone's conspiracy desire for a conspiracy theory, I mean, when you start playing to all that. And you get the accolades for being the source of all that. It's hard for people to back away from that.
I know. Yeah. They love the dopamine rush, right? They check in. They're probably checking every 2 or 3 minutes. It's like, oh, how many likes did I get? How many this? I mean, right? It's like dopamine.
Yeah.
They get a little reward. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know that it's helpful. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's the decline of our society. Maybe it's just who knows.
Someone was saying, I forgot who I was listening to, was basically saying, in 20 years, we're going to look back at how we allowed access to social media to all these kids and realize that we broke the kids. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows that. Now, maybe not everybody. I don't know that people care, but yeah, of course we broke.
When you have people in their 40s who are addicted to social media as they are, and these are people who did not grow up with those things, right?
Yeah, right.
Then you go up to someone who's 20 years old and grew up with that.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have the 20 years of experience before social media was put in their hands to even have any sense of individuality without a world of social media.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't probably have an original thought in their head. Everything is like told to them. They haven't actually thought through. It's like, what do I actually believe?
Is that okay? Taking away the technological aspect of social media, is that any different than what school teaches you? Anymore, schools kind of rote learning, and then the teacher has a heavy influence into how you what you learn and how you think about it.
No, it's
just the difference in social media is now is you have less educated people or less ethical people giving you their opinions in order just to get information, to get likes and the like, and it's fed right into your hand. So yes, It's greater in scale and impact, but I don't think it's any real different than what we've done for decades.
Well, no, because it's always some version of control. You can control how people think. You control their behavior. I mean, that's common. I just wish, this is fantasy world. I just wish that people would think more for themselves. But I don't think they realize how. I don't think they realize how influenced they actually are.
Well, that goes back to your concept of everyone's sheep, or my concept, or everyone's sheep, and they're all being controlled, and they need to understand. They need better self-awareness to assess the world around them and understand how it influences them.
Yeah. If they care, they may not care. They might be comfortable enough. Like, I don't really care. That's fine.
No, that's an uncomfortable thing. To exercise your brain to the point where you're actually thinking, what's going on here? How's it affecting me?
Yeah.
Do I want it to affect me this way? No, I don't. Make a decision and then say, okay, how can I change that?
Yeah.
That's a lot to do, right? Otherwise, I can just say, you know what? I just watched a commercial for Taco Bell. I want Taco Bell.
Yeah. And it's easy, and it's engineered to make life easy for you and comfortable for you.
Yeah, I told you I went to my office Christmas party yesterday, right? And we went into the restaurant and I got some fish and chips, and then there's a sticky toffee pudding sitting right there, and they said, "Oh yeah, you want some of that?" And no, I don't. And of course, I got one. Yeah. I mean, it's. I know I shouldn't be eating it, but I did.
Yeah. That's just because you're mentally weak.
And they had it right there, and it was geared towards it. In fact, the idea was, it wasn't you want fries with that. It was really like the assumption was you're going to just get all the stuff with it.
Yeah, exactly. And most people love it, actually. But I mean, that's the sort of stuff.
Yes, by watching the people who were eating that food, you could tell that most people love it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's easy, like here in Walmart, actually. It's like so amazing. You look at what's in their shopping cart, and you're like, yep, that explains how they look. Yeah, exactly. There's no mystery.
So this, I mean, we talk about the U.S. is what, 60% overweight or obese or some huge number like that, and it's like, it's our food.
It's our food.
It's our food, and then the relationship we've built with that food.
Yeah, right.
So this is what the country made available due to cost savings and profit or whatever. We got used to it. It was designed to make us feel a certain way. We have that relationship with the food. Now we want more of that. So the companies now make more of that, and they optimize for flavor. They optimize for the bliss point, right? The perfect mixture of fat, sugar, and salt. And what we end up with is now our food is engineered to make us want it in a way that is unhealthy.
Yeah. It hacks our dopamine. It's basically everybody goes after the dopamine. That's the move. Increase dopamine.
Yeah. So the other day, I forgot what it was. I wanted a snack. I went to the fridge, and there wasn't much that I could eat as a snack without preparing it. But we had carrots.
Yeah.
So I took a carrot and I peeled it and I ate it. And this was one large carrot. It wasn't baby carrots or anything like that. And it was the sweetest carrot I've had in a long time. And I'm like, this is unnaturally sweet. It felt like, and it was very good and very and compared to eating sugar in its straight state, I think it was a lot better for me than I'm obviously probably should have had like something green as opposed to a carrot, but still, it's kind of crazy to me that eating a carrot would be something that you would think would be, oh, I shouldn't be eating a carrot. It's not good for me.
I think carrots are fine for you. Listen. It's really hard to get fat eating just carrots.
If you eat just yes, it has more sugar than celery or something else like that. But at the end of the day, I mean, even like things like apples and fruit as a fruit, it's got more sugar in it. But at the end of the day, compared to a candy bar, there's no doubt what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a built-in limit. Because you got to chew it, and you got to swallow. There's only so much that'll fit in your stomach, right?
Yeah, there's the matrix of the actual food itself. Your body has to digest it. All
the
that
fiber,
stuff,
so much fiber there, and everything. Yeah.
Don't they say celery is one of those foods that you actually burn more calories than?
I think it's a negative calorie food, or something. Because there's just basically just fiber and water in it, But hey, maybe if that gives you the crunch, who knows? Actually, nobody got fat off the celery. You get fat off all the peanut butter that you put on it when you eat it.
Got fat off.
That's the part where you get fat.
I can see that on a T-shirt. No one gets fat off celery.
Yeah, nobody gets fat off eating an apple or carrots. It's like, no, that's not a problem.
Um.
Yeah, but anyways, Chris, this goes back to See, your brain got hijacked because you didn't read Atomic Habits. You didn't pre-plan your move ahead of time.
Which one? The eating the sticky toffee pudding?
Yeah, eating the sticky toffee thing.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could say that was the only thing I did that I should have done yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So typically what I will do if I know I don't want to eat that and I know that my self-control is limited, I'll immediately discard it or have the person take this away, please. Right? Just take it away right now, actually.
Yeah, you did that. You did that when we had dinner the other day.
Yeah, that's my go-to move.
Remember,
because I know
we asked for no bread with our salad, and they still brought the bread with the salad, and you just said, take that away.
Yeah, take it away. Yeah, because I know that if it sets there, I know that I have very limited willpower, and I know it'll eventually beat me. So I've got to act swiftly, otherwise I'm toast. You know.
So I think you are in the mindset that just get rid of it, so there's no temptation at all, right?
Yeah, I changed my environment. Yeah, immediately.
Yeah, and I really want to experience everything. So usually what I'll do is I'll take one bite and then leave the rest.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's generally how I view it. Because if something exists that I haven't had before, I want to try it, but I don't want to eat the whole damn thing.
Well, if you have the willpower to do that, I do not.
So in most cases, I do. So
Okay,
when they took the bread away on the salad, I didn't have them take my bread away, and I took one bite of the bread, which was okay. That was the bite of the bread. I got my bite, and I was done.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't have that willpower. I can't do that because I know one bite would equal 2 bites would equal the whole thing's gone. You know.
The issue is I need to mentally close it, saying that's it. I had it. I'm done. So then, even if it's still on the plate, it's not mine anymore. If that makes sense. Yeah. So it's a mental hack. The problem I have is when there's a whole bunch of free food that's all unhealthy. Because it was a Christmas party, so it was all it was a whole bunch of. I mean, literally, there was 2 ice cream shops. So this was in an amusement park, right? That they set up. So there were 2 amusement shops that had ice cream. Two shops that had ice cream. There was a hamburger joint, a pizza joint, a chicken joint. All these different things, and it's like everything comes with potatoes. Everything comes, mashed potatoes, fried potatoes. Yeah. Oh, you want a brownie with that? You want a cookie with that? And I didn't eat the brownies with the cookies, but still.
Yeah.
It's tempting.
But see, here's the reason I won't do that, Chris, is because my identity that doing that means I can't get to it's not my mission God gave me, actually.
No, I like your identity statement. I think it's a good refinement and a good litany that you can use to kind of distract yourself back to something else.
Yeah, right. To refocus. Yeah.
Distract away from whatever that's bothering you to something that more meaningful. It's if you ever read the book Dune, they have the litany against fear, right? And a lot of people who know the Dune book will know about it, right? So whenever you're afraid, you have this little litany that you say that gets you to focus not on the fear, but on whatever's causing it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Yeah, and ultimately, at the very core of everything, I can't remember which book I read this in, but you get what you focus on. Whatever you predominantly think about, that's what you get. So now, how do you get your mind to do that? And it just requires mental discipline. It just requires doing it over and over and over till eventually, for instance, at this point, bread will get me, but if there was 7 cookies there, I really, it does nothing to me anymore. It's I don't feel at all influenced by cookies anymore.
What I need to get over is this. I've got this thing about free.
Okay, yeah.
So I got to get over the fact that it's free.
Yeah, but it's not free. It's you're paying for it.
It's just free. It's a dollar-wise thing. It's free, right?
Well, but not even if it's health, right? If you have bad health,
we can make that. I can make that argument too, but just the way I think what's going on in my mind is, I've gotten so accustomed to valuing the freeness of something to the point where that becomes the thing I'm chasing as opposed to whatever else might be represented.
Oh yeah, all you got to do is reframe it. It's do you want to eat the marshmallow now or you want 2 more later? It's I want 2 more later.
But that's a bad argument because I could wait. I can wait for 2 more later. The point is, do I want to eat the marshmallow now or not have the marshmallow later?
But you get something else, right? You get something else.
No, it's true. Yeah. No, the marshmallow thing is a good thing because I've got no problem waiting for more.
Well, there you go. Okay, okay. Yeah, okay. Maybe that's a bad example, but you know what I'm saying. I'm saying, like if you give that up, you are saying no to that, so you get to say yes to something else later. Yeah, which is really good. So then the next morning when I look at my CGM, I'm like, ooh, I didn't have a blood sugar spike. I feel good. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that means I'm more self-disciplined. And then now it's like the next decision gets easier because, oh, I've got discipline. Now I start thinking, oh, I'm a very disciplined individual.
Do you ever get a blood sugar spike from dehydration or sun? Being in the sun?
I don't know. I'm not in the sun that much. I don't really see
What
that.
I was noticing over the summertime was if I was out in the yard doing work in the yard and I wasn't drinking a lot of water, my blood sugar would spike. Even when I wasn't eating anything.
That doesn't surprise me because you're probably getting cortisol. It talks to your liver, says pump out more blood sugar. I mean, pump out more sugar.
But it wasn't like the typical, exercise thing where the exercise would drive down the blood sugar. It was actually going up, which even though I was outside working on stuff. So, I wasn't suffering heat stroke, but I was getting pretty warm out there, right? So
maybe you need to drink. Maybe that's a sign. Then I mean, man, the CGM is so awesome because it lets you point back to like what's causing it. It's like amazing.
I saw this guy yesterday. He was a bald guy, and he had what looked like a CGM on the back of his head.
Oh,
and I said, "Can I ask? Do you mind if I ask what that is?" And he goes, "It's a cochlear implant."
Oh,
so he was missing part of his his auditory system because he'd had cancer, and so basically it fit on magnetically, it allowed him to hear. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And then I started talking to him about wearable medical devices, and he does work at Dexcom and other kinds of companies. So we were talking about a lot of cool stuff. It was neat.
There you go. That's interesting. Yeah, but I'm always for setting down and intentionally thinking about what's my end game, what are the steps to get there, what things are going to derail me, and then how do I mitigate that risk because the problem is if you don't have a plan going in, you're almost certainly going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Not always. I mean, ultimately, at some point you can build up enough self-discipline to do that, but not at the beginning.
So I remember, Tony Robbins' first thing that was on cassette tape, right? His first program that was on cassette tape. And he did a form of NLP, right? Neuro-linguistic programming that he would do. He did a lot of those types of things where he would try to get you to think about what you would look like in 20 years if you don't do whatever, right? You're going to be overweight, you're going to be whatever. Get that in your head, and then you need to be able to trigger that thought every time you want to eat something.
Yeah,
that's
go into that state. Yeah.
The other thing was, put yourself in the perfect happy state where you've got plenty of energy and blah, 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 blah. And then he would have you do some kind of a gesture or move or something and using kind of Pavlovian response, teach your body that when I do this move, this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So kind of you work backwards. You need to get yourself in a state where you feel energetic and lively. It doesn't matter if that's your default state or not. Just get yourself in that state. Then do the physical action, and then do it over and over and over and over again. And those things still work. I've got some of those programmed into my head that still work. I just got to remember to use them.
Yeah, it's like kind of accurate anything.
One of them was like twirling my ring around my finger causes adrenaline to flow up the back of my spine and kind of wakes me up. So every time I'm in a meeting where I'm falling asleep, I just do that, and I'm like, whoa, I'm awake again.
You tie that. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
So I just need to go back to do that and kind of rebuild some of those, particularly around health.
Yeah. That's it. Because here's the thing: as we get older, man, if you don't focus on health, nothing else works.
I'm telling you, my knee has gotten to the point where I think about it every day, and I don't like that. So, I got to figure out what I can do about it.
Well, go see a doctor. Go talk to multiple people. I'm sure there's strategies to improve it.
Oh, there are. And I've never done injections. Injections are a common thing that people do, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what I figure out what I want to do.
Yeah, but I would say move on it sooner than later, because the thing is when you do that, you start training your brain. It's like, no, as soon as problems come up, I handle them immediately, and it's like that builds self-confidence. I mean, it's just everything is this cycle that circles around. It takes a long time to get that software built in. Because otherwise you'll be here in 3 years from now bitching about your knee, you know?
And well, part of the issue is another aspect, right? Is where when things change slowly, at what point do you recognize that it's happening?
Well, that's why you need to have a set of standards, right?
Right.
Quickly, it's like this is yellow line, this is red line.
But you know the frog in the boiling water.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Right. You throw a frog in boiling water, they jump out. You just take the heat in the water up a degree at a time, and they won't jump out of it even when
Yeah,
it gets
right,
really hot.
right,
So,
right. Yeah.
yeah, I mean the idea, I think, is that's the way we are about so much of life.
Well, we're very adaptable,
And that's
right?
the
We
insidious
adapt.
part of things like aging, right? I mean, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it's like you get minuscule changes in all aspects of life. When do you notice the change?
Well, but you got to track everything. That's why you got to track it and you got to set standards up for yourself. You know, my standard is, I'm not saying I have this standard, but I should. But I'm saying my standard is I should be able to walk, you know, a mile in a certain period of time. And, you know, if I go out and test myself on a monthly basis, I don't hit that metric, I'm like, okay, damn, I've got to go work on that. I've got to improve that because now I'm slipping a little bit. And if you don't do it that way, you might not notice it for 2 or 3 years. Or you might say, yeah, it's just kind of old age or whatever it is. I think you got to set standards up, Chris. Basically, you've got to engineer every part of your life. But most people don't do that, right? I don't do it for most areas. I'm doing it for more and more, but
So that would be an interesting framework to put together, right? Is like what are the things that you need to create standards for? And
Pretty
maybe
much
there's
everything.
like in the framework, here's the first thing you need to set standards for. Here's the second thing, or here's the first 3 things you need to set standards for.
Yeah.
So maybe it's health, relationships, and finances, or so.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, right? You need to come up with some combination, and yeah, because I think if you can provide that to people, and maybe you say, no, this is the first thing. First thing is health.
Yeah, first thing's health.
Or does it need to be flexible? Maybe the first thing is finances. Maybe that's the thing that someone needs.
Well, it depends, right? I know that. So I've been taking this guy from this Navy SEAL guy for a couple of years. So I've built out something called a life mission map. And what it is, it's like 13 domains of life that if you can turn all these things green, you're doing pretty darn good. And then there's subparts of each particular one. And then every one you have an upper and a lower limit on. It's like, so
What would an upper limit be? Lower limit, I get. You don't want to get dropped below something, but
you don't
what
want
would an
to,
upper
but
limit
you don't
be?
need to go above a certain limit actually, because that's good enough to hit the mission. It depends on what your
Oh,
mission is.
so you're going for that Goldilocks zone. Good enough, but not below this, but not. You don't need to go above that.
Yeah, because what happens is you may just so focus on that. But one of the key rules is you're not allowed to put so much focus on one area that you break something else. So typically what's going to happen
So
is you
if
spend all your
everything's
time
green, then you can focus on making something better. But until it's all green, you just keep working on the stuff that isn't green yet.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing. You actually turn it blue when you get in the zone.
Okay.
So it doesn't say, so as soon as it goes to blue, you're like, I'm good. I can, you know, I may still do maintenance on it, but I don't need to put a huge focus on it. Now let me
So
go
then,
after the red
when
thing.
would that change? When would those criteria change?
When you reach your upper limit, then you move from green to blue. You're done. So blue means optimal. You could change the colors.
But what I'm saying is, like, when would you go back and then reassess at some point and say, okay, now I'm gonna raise all these limits. I'm gonna raise everything.
I mean, if you want, it depends on your mission. It depends on the
Yeah.
requirements.
So if you
of
go
what
back
you're
and say,
trying to
okay,
do.
my mission is now blank.
Yeah.
So you go back and you reassess those 13 domains and say, okay, I need to be in this range now.
Yeah, right. If you're, yeah, right, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
could set up a continual improvement, like, okay, I've upped my mission.
Yeah.
Now I've got to up all these skills.
Because now I need more money, I need more capability, I need a bigger house, I need whatever it is you need to achieve that mission. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's nice because it's all laid out and you can see everything at a glance. And then what you do is each particular part, you identify it and you say that this is the benefits of this part and this is the negative aspects of this part. So what you can do is if you're feeling a certain way, like if you're down, you're depressed, you're low energy, you're not sleeping well, you can go back and say, oh, geesh, my eating's off and I'm not exercising enough. It's like, sure enough, I haven't exercised for the last week. So instead of attacking those things, the root cause of those is exercise and sleep. So you're like, I got to get back on track on the exercise and sleep. So now what happens is now you reset that color blue and you go to yellow or maybe red, depending on if you've fallen out. It depends if you've fallen out of your zone or not, your upper and lower bound.
Okay.
And the rule is you can never spend so much time on one thing that you break other things. That's the golden rule.
Okay.
Because that's what people want to do. They want to focus all their effort on, I'm doing so good on here, let me keep doing it. It's like, no. You got 3 red things, dude. Turn that thing blue. It's good enough. Now go work on those.
I would say that they spend so much time on things because they don't even realize those other things are there.
They may not have
like what you
realized
said, right? Because you've got this map. So when you're saying, "Hey, these other things are falling," it's because you've got this map you've created. The average person doesn't create the map in the first place, so they concentrate on everything they either like or that they're good at.
Yeah, right.
Which is different than actually, saying, "Hey, here's the 15 things I need to do, and I'm good at 2 of them." Well, what about the other 13 that you need to get better on, right?
And then you can be very intentional about things. You can say, my health's pretty darn good. My finances are pretty darn good. Spiritual life and relationships are bad. I really haven't spent time with my kids in the past 2 weeks, and they're kind of griping. It's like, okay, I need to, now my schedule for next week is I'm going to block out time to spend more time on those things.
Yeah. And actually the problem is they're probably not griping and you don't even realize it. And so what ends up happening is you reset your expectation to be, I don't have to spend as much time with him, because they're obviously not being impacted, but they actually are, just in ways that you're not visibly seeing. So
yeah.
That's a different aspect, right? That's an understanding that not everything worth doing is going to have an obvious outcome that says, hey, I should be working on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like your relationship probably will absorb a lot of neglect, and then at some point it'll all boil over.
Yeah. It can only absorb so much neglect, right? And you're like, okay, I need to spend time. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's just when you got your life mission, what you're supposed to be doing, when you've got your identity set up, and then you've got this system in place. You're like, okay, now you can, like, maybe on Sunday afternoon, you can just go back and do a whole scan. Where is everything? What's going on? What do I need to work on? Because you can't work on 13 things at once. You can have 13 things in maintenance, but you might be like, this next week I'm going to push on relationships, or I'm going to push on finances.
Benjamin Franklin, Ben's virtues.
I've heard of them. I don't know what they are.
So he set up 13 virtues that he thought were valuable, right?
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
things about like being frugal, things about not using profanity. He had like 13 different things.
Yeah.
And he would work on 1 per week.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
And every day he did an activity that represented that value. He put a check mark for the day.
Yeah, there you go. Beautiful.
And he'd do that. So 13 times, 13 weeks. And then remember, there's 52 weeks in a year. So he would go through it 4 times a year.
Yeah, beautiful.
Right. And there's an app you can get, a free app called Ben's Virtues, if you want to do this. But it's a simple thing. It's like, this week I'm going to concentrate on not using profanity.
Yeah,
this week
right.
I'm going to concentrate on not wasting money. This week I'm going to concentrate. It literally was an idea that if you've got nothing else in a way to plan your life, I think it's a pretty self-aware way to act. So
now you're going through intentional instead of just being dragged around by which way the winds are blowing.
I think a lot of this stuff is captured by what he had. It's a much simpler plan than some of these things we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think if someone really just wanted to start being intentional and planning life, maybe they should take Ben's Virtues and just start using them.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Just you'll come up with the same list anyway.
Once like you said, where your focus is what you're going to start seeing.
Yeah.
Right. So if you start focusing on frugality, if you start focusing on vulgarity, if you say, and I think he used those kinds of words, if you start focusing on that, you'll see it and you'll act. And a week may not be enough time for you to totally make that a better thing, but you do that over and over again, and you will see how to improve it. The next time you do it, you might up the game. You might say, I've got to do it twice today. I've got to do it 10 times today.
Right,
I've got to do whatever. Or you start just noticing when, oh gosh, I just used a curse word. I didn't need to.
Yeah.
There was no reason for me to use the F-bomb here. And I think that's one of the things that I would be really, and when you get to a point where you recognize, you know what, I don't care about this one so much. It's outdated. It was something that was valuable 300 years ago. Let's switch it up with something else. Let's add a different value thing in there, right?
Yeah.
That would be, I think, at that point, then you're actually beginning to engineer. At some point, you're going to actually sit down and put together a more robust plan.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Just all you're doing is you're just being aware about it. And then what you'll start to be aware of is you're like, oh my God, all these other outside forces, they're trying to redirect me. And it's like, I don't want to necessarily go where the wind's blowing today. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Well, I'm just thinking this is like the atomic habits idea, right? It's hey, just start by saying every week I'm just gonna do one action a day that does this.
Yeah, that's it. Right? And it stacks and it builds compound interest.
It's like if you want to get to a point where you're working out an hour a day, you need to start with at least a minute a day.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing magic about any of this. I mean, everybody probably intuitively knows this. It's just the execution that's so damn hard, It's
the execution, and I think there's a mindset that there's a choice.
There's always a choice, yeah.
But the point is, you need to get to a mindset where there is no choice. The action has to happen.
If you want to get your goal.
Because you always have a choice not to do something. But the point is, you need to convince yourself that, no, I've got to do this because this is the way it is. So you, in essence, have to mind hack your way to where there is no choice but to do the thing that you said you need to do. So you're deliberate in planning, you're deliberate in thinking, saying, this is the activity that will make my life better.
Yeah.
I've got to get into the mindset where I don't decide not to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So basically, in many ways, we always say you have a choice. In this case, your choice is to convince yourself you don't have a choice.
Well, because you pre-engineered this so you can think when you don't have all these pressures on you. You can think they're like, what is really the right, like, what do I really want to do?
So the choice was in the planning. The choice is not in the doing.
Yeah, correct.
Right? So you made a choice back then that you're going to exercise every other day.
Yeah.
That was your choice.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice today to say, I'm not going to exercise. That's not with it.
Right. You must execute today.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm getting at. You need to hack your brain in a way to realize that there's a place where the choice exists, and then there's a place where you're not letting it exist.
Yeah, correct. And that's why Jocko always says, you could be tired, and you could say, I don't want to exercise today. And he'll say, never that day. You always exercise that day. Now, maybe tomorrow, fine, you're actually tired, but you never, ever, ever give in that day once you plan it on paper. Because otherwise what happens is you start training your brain. It's like, oh, none of this is etched in stone. I can basically just do whatever whatever the day is, I just do whatever I feel like.
Okay. I was going through all these things that we do on a daily basis, like take a shower or brush your teeth and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things they say is that people who don't brush their teeth don't live as long. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, probably. It affects your heart. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff.
But I'm also wondering if it also just reflects the kind of person you are and the way you make decisions. Yeah, so, I'm not going to brush my teeth today. I'm just too tired. I'm just going to go straight to bed.
Too tired,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm wondering if is it correlation and not causation? Is it that you don't brush your teeth and that's why you die younger? Or is it that you don't brush your teeth, which shows that you have a mindset that you cut corners, and it's because you cut corners, you're cutting corners on things like your health, in which case you don't live as long.
I'm wondering,
so I'm wondering if it's causation or correlation.
It could be potentially both of them. This is what I want to do. I want my pastor to come on this because in particular I want to talk about Proverbs in the Bible, because Proverbs talks about like wisdom was created part of God, and he goes, there's just certain things that just work, it just cause and affect things. And he goes, if you play by these rules, you're going to live a much better life. It's not guaranteed. You just stack the deck in your favor.
Okay. Is the Bible telling you, are the Proverbs telling you the how and the why, or just the what to do?
It goes into a little bit of both. It's more of just what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, because the way I viewed it was the people who were writing the Bible or the people who were preaching were often the educated part of the group.
Yeah, right.
People they were talking to were not educated.
Yeah,
so
right.
you don't tell them why to do something, you just tell them what to do.
Yeah. And this
Right.
was King Solomon who wrote this, was at the time was probably one of the smartest guys in the world. So he's like, here's some
but
wisdom.
the idea being that goes, I go back to I'm thinking, was it in the Jewish religion they're not supposed to eat pork or they're not supposed to eat shellfish and the like, and I'm like, there's no scientific why explained. Right?
Yeah, right.
When you think about it, these foods were often associated with getting sick because of the way they were grown, the way they were treated, and all that. So instead of saying, hey, this is how you should grow the animal, this is how you should butcher the animal, this is how you should treat the whatever, instead of going and teaching someone 15 steps to be able to eat the shellfish in a healthy way, we just say don't eat shellfish.
Don't eat shellfish. Right. Exactly. Right.
Right. And so it occurs to me, I wonder how much of the guidance you get in religion is telling you the what, not the how or the why. And we're in a world today where we want to know how and why. We don't want to just know what. And so now religion, particularly your pastor and others, are kind of forced to kind of fill in the how and the why, which often is not in the Bible. It's or in any religious text. Often it's always what. They tell you what to do, not how to do it or why to do it. Sometimes they tell you how to do it.
Yeah,
but they rarely tell you the why.
Yeah, and
kind of infer the why.
Well, and this is something I'm like working on right now that's so confusing for me, is that the Bible clearly says don't lean on your own understanding. So let's say, for instance, God actually existed, right?
Don't lean on your own understanding?
Correct, right, exactly. That's a directive, right? And so it's like, just do this thing, and that's why faith is so important. And this is, as an engineer, this is very difficult for me, but
do what you're told to do. Don't lean on your understanding of what you're supposed to do.
Right.
I got it.
Exactly. Right. Which is what happened in jiu-jitsu. And I would want to know how come and why. Why don't we modify the technique? And he's like, listen, just do what I tell you to do. He's like, these techniques have been fine-tuned and developed over 100 years. He goes, I have personally used every single one of these to defeat somebody else, actually. The technique works. It's optimized. Just do the frickin' technique, right? Because you're not smart enough. You want to talk about calculus and you can't even add 1 + 1 together. Just trust me. Do what I tell you to do. And when I started doing that, it's like my jiu-jitsu went like crazy. It got better so much faster because I stopped fighting everything all the time.
Well, I think so. I'm going to go to your argument of just build it, right? So just do it, right? So to some extent, it's like, I don't know why this works, but it works, so I'm going to do it.
But you have to assume you have to trust the teacher, right?
What I'm not questioning where it's coming from. I'm just saying,
okay, gotcha, yeah.
You do it, and then it works, and you go, okay, I don't get this yet, but it works, so I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep doing it.
And
then you do this across multiple disciplines. You do this across multiple areas of your life. And again, back to pattern recognition, if you start to see patterns between these things, well, when I did this over here in gardening, I got a success. When I did this over here in food preparation, I got a success. When I did this over here in whatever building, I got a success. And suddenly, it's not suddenly, it may take years to figure this out, you start to see a pattern between these things and you gain an understanding of how things fit together. And maybe even why they fit together the way they do.
Right.
So, going to your jiu-jitsu idea, it's like when you're a master, you can break the rules because you inherently understand the rules.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you get an apprentice, he wants to break the rules, and he sees the master breaking the rules. Yeah. Well, you're breaking the rules. Why can't I break the rules? Because you don't understand enough to know how to break the rules.
You don't know the rules because you don't know physics yet, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting argument to make, right? It's like you've got to go through the fire to be able to look back at the fire.
Yeah,
that's not a good example, but you get what I'm trying to say. You got to get through it to be able to understand it.
And that's why I'm trying to, like when my building, at the same time I'm studying physics, I'm learning physics, I'm trying to understand the why underneath it. And I'm like, oh, now I see why that pattern works and that one doesn't work, But it's
the
not
why or the how?
The why, the physics of it underneath. So, for instance, if you're building a little electronic circuit, right, you just need to know Omicron.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get philosophical on you a moment. Is
Yeah.
that the why or is that the how it works? To me, physics is how it works. It's not the why.
How the
Right?
why?
The why starts getting spiritual. It starts getting
I don't
into.
think we know the why.
It starts getting into God or nature or right. That's the why. Why does gravity exist? Not how does it exist?
And this is where the faith part comes in. I think I don't know for sure. It's like you just have to have faith that God or your master, whoever did it, has gone through this. He deeply understands. He actually loves you and cares about you, so you can trust him. So you have faith, even if you don't have a perfect understanding. And I think that's where the faith comes in. You're like, okay, I don't understand, but I'm going to just do step A, B, C.
Yeah.
And
So
I don't know why.
I mean, if you want to go like electronics and you get the plus and the minus, and you go, why? Well, it goes, how do electrons move from one to the other? You can explain that, and you've studied that. Why do they do that?
Why? Because nobody knows for sure why they do that.
We can go deeper and now we're going to get into a second thing. You can get like a first level why.
Yeah.
Well, because there's an extra electron on this one and there's not one on there, and so the electron moves from one to the other, and that's the why you get a flow.
Yeah.
But that's not the why. So why is the world set up such that these things happen?
Yeah, right.
That's a different thing. So now I'm even refining it further. There's a how and a first level why, and I think science explains the how and maybe the first level why.
Yeah, right.
And that might be enough for people. They don't need to go to a second or third or fourth or fifth level why. Right? We always say ask why 5 times. When it gets to things like science, when you get to the physics of the world, it's tough to get past the first or second why.
Because they just don't know, right? I mean, I know the way that current flows is because you have a potential difference in voltage, right?
So you know how it works, and you know why the electrons are moving.
Yes.
But you don't know why the electrons bother to move.
Yeah.
Or why it was set up to move that way, or Yeah,
and there's 2 fields. There's like, I can't remember exactly. There's a B field and an E field, and I believe the B field is just a potential difference. So it's like almost like you could describe these things as the electrons either are compelled or have a desire to move, if you want to personify it.
Well, because they have a charge state, which it was an attraction that pulls one from the other, right?
Yeah, it literally. It's like so either they have to go there, or they want to go there, and it doesn't really matter why. But we do know one thing.
Not to use it. It doesn't matter why to use it.
To use it, right. But we do know one thing. It happens every single time. You can literally bet your life on the fact that this will work the same way every time. Guaranteed. No exceptions, ever.
So why does it work every time? Well, that's because it's a law of the universe, law of nature.
The law of the universe. Right? This is the way God made it, right?
And then well, why is it that way? Well, that's when you start getting into spiritual stuff, right?
You can,
and you're approaching it from a scientific aspect of understanding spiritual, as opposed to a religious. Or I don't want to say religious because it could still go to religious, as opposed to a societal explanation of why things are the way they are.
Yeah. And Feynman talks about this in his book. He talks about you've just got to get comfortable that we don't know exactly why. We don't know. And we may never know why.
Well, this is the challenge that scientists have, right? Or this is the challenge that everyone has in today's society. When we were uneducated and we were all doing physical labor just to survive, we didn't have a lot of time to think about how even, let alone why. As our free time increased with changes in technology and the like, we had and people had time to think about how they made life. I don't want to say better. I think it is better, but they improved the ability for us to be effective in the things we do.
Yeah,
so that gave us more free time to think about how to do things, and then we started working on other things that were less critical but still added value. Like we got better weaving techniques. We got we learned how to paint. We learned all these different things.
Yeah.
So all those things got better, right?
Yeah. We have a deeper understanding.
Yes, I think all of that happened, and then what ends up happening is, as we began to increase on the how, it freed up enough time for people to start thinking about why. And then we got our philosophers, right? So
Yeah.
you think about it, your philosopher in a time of, tribal cavemen probably didn't have much time to philosophize about the world. We get
Yeah.
into like Socrates and Aristotle. Society had given them the ability to kind of be a burden on society, right? I'm sure they weren't out producing anything that was useful to live day to day, but they were able to philosophize. And then you got from philosophy, we got the birth of science and the beginning to understand how the world works, and then maybe even to a certain extent why things are the way they are.
Yeah, right.
But I think this how-why definition is something that we're progressing over time. We're in a world today where we want to know why more than we care about how or what.
Yeah, right. And
Right.
and we
So
may not know.
why does the president think this way? Why does that scientist think that way? Why does and it's not like we're not judging them on what they're doing. We're not even judging them so much on how they're doing it.
Yeah.
We're judging them on why we think they do it.
Why they do it.
We don't even know the real why. We just know our interpretation of it.
We know our way, and we may never know. So God addresses this.
And we go to evil, nefarious thoughts. He's doing this because he's a bad man.
Well, that's
he's
where
doing
we go.
that.
That's where the
She's
fall.
doing that because she doesn't like me. I mean, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it could be true. Yeah, it could be true. So God addressed this in the book of Job. Like Job was kind of griping to God, and God said two things. He goes, "Listen, Job, my ways are above your ways, right? Where were you when I knit the universe together?" So think about this, Chris. Just the fact if you have a being that powerful that can literally speak the entire universe into existence, you're like, hey, the smartest scientist, dude, you have no clue who you're dealing with, right? The level of power and knowledge that I have to to speak this in, to literally create physics, to create time. It's like you'll never understand. It's like you just don't have the intellect. So just trust me, right? It works. That's all you need to know.
No, doesn't work for me.
I know, Chris, but think about it. What if that's true? What if literally you have a being so powerful he can speak the universe into existence?
Okay. What if?
You're never going to understand because he didn't make you to understand.
Okay. Why not?
And I know it's frustrating. It drives me insane.
Why not? Why not make me understand? If you can make anything happen, why not make me understand?
Because he didn't want to. And
okay.
Then
when I don't understand, you didn't want to make me understand. So then when I choose not to understand, and you gave me the ability to choose not to understand, then that's on you. It's not on me.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, though. This is what God addressed. He says, "Hey, Chris, my ways are above your ways."
Great. That's fine. I can accept that. But that means that you want an outcome. You can make the outcome happen, but you decide to not let it happen. Then, therefore, whatever outcome comes is the outcome that's supposed to be.
Nobody gave you free will, so it's not
exactly. So whatever outcome it comes out of this is the outcome that you expected because you created the world, the universe.
Well, yeah, this is the argument.
If 90% of the people in the world are not Christians, then that was the outcome you wanted.
See, I don't think so. I think that's using your logic. This is where you got.
I'm looking at the facts of the world as is today. I don't know what the percentage of what is it? We've got 1.1 billion Christians out of 7 billion, so it's 15%. Yeah. So if 85% of the world is not Christian, then obviously that's okay for right now. That's the way the world is.
See, this is where you can't lean on your own understanding because you're just not smart. This is where you have to use.
I'm sorry, but you are outsourcing your thinking, and you're not augmenting your thinking. Stop outsourcing your thinking and say, I don't have to think about this because someone else is doing it. That's what you're doing. You're doing what the 80% of the sheep do with AI, is saying, I don't want to think about this. AI, you do it for me. I don't want to think about this. God, you do it for me.
Here's the thing, Chris. I think this is the right answer, and it drives me insane. I'm telling you, it drives me insane. But I think it's this faith part because I'm just not smart enough to understand. Right? I don't have the IQ.
Okay.
So I have to trust.
Why do you need to understand?
What's that?
You're saying you don't need to understand, and most of the people on the bell curve.
I didn't say that.
Most of the people on the bell curve don't understand.
No. I didn't say I don't need to understand. I said I can't understand.
okay, you can't understand,
I don't have the brain power.
and therefore you need to accept it without understanding. Is what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, I must. That's
Right?
the only option, right?
Yes.
You have to have
But
faith.
you're saying you don't need to understand. You need to accept it without understanding it. That's what I'm saying. You don't need to understand it.
Yeah,
And,
need. I
and,
want
and
to
the end
understand.
product here is you accept it without understanding it.
That's called faith. Yeah, but not blind faith. But it's like, okay, I've seen enough of the pattern. So,
But that's what you're saying, right? But you're saying here's the omnipotent power
Yeah.
who is telling us how things have to be in a book,
Yes. Right.
but doesn't make it happen that way, even though they're omnipotent.
What do you mean? He makes it happen how he wants it to happen. But he also gives free will, right? This is where things get very difficult, actually. Very
There's
tricky.
a philosopher who talks about the fact that none of us have free will, which I kind of like, and he's not religious.
be.
But
Right.
but the idea here, okay, so you're saying he gives you free will. Well, then
The
if he
ability
gives you
to
free
choose.
will, then the outcome doesn't matter what the book says because it's free will. I can decide to follow the book or not to follow the book.
That's right. Correct. Actually, you can decide to follow physics or not. But I tell you, if you don't follow physics, it could kill you.
Except when it comes to the book you're talking about, it's not physics.
But it's the same thing, though, Chris. It's a different level of
But
physics where God.
Scott,
Yeah.
what if I go to a different religion and follow their book? It's not the same. Are you telling me that the other religion's book is wrong? That their physics is
Correct.
wrong?
Yeah, 100%.
So you're
right.
saying that you have the one true book of physics, and
I
no one
believe
else
so.
in the world's book of physics is accurate.
Well, everybody has it. It's like not just me. You can get the Bible anywhere.
See that there is so much self. You're what's the word I want? Basically, you're saying I'm right. I picked the right book, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I'm sorry. I don't have that much of an ego. That's all ego. That's all ego, Scott.
See,
That my book is right, and that book over there in the Middle East is wrong, and that book over there in China is wrong. I do not accept that your book is right and everyone else's book is wrong.
Chris. But it's through observation. It's like just like we've discovered physics. Like you can talk about physics, but physics is physics. It's observable. It's testable.
So give me something that's physics that shows that everyone else's book is wrong. What is right about the Bible that is wrong in every other book?
What is right? It's the way that people view God that's different.
Do you know that? Do you know that? Because if we look at the Old Testament and the New Testament, the way people viewed God is very different. We would look at two different character types. God in the Old Testament does not look like God in the New Testament.
I don't think that's true, actually.
You don't think that God in the Old Testament looks like God in the New Testament?
That's the same
we go
thing
from
to me.
Hellstone and brimfire to love thy neighbor and turn the other cheek.
Well, I don't think it was hellstone and brimfire. I mean, there were certainly parts of it.
Brimstone and hellfire. Is that the right word? I think I got this backwards.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that God killed a bunch of people, right? I mean,
sure.
because he
talked about slavery, talked about enslaving other people, talked about not having female slaves freed, although you could allow male Jewish slaves to be freed, or male. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that is and then of course the New Testament doesn't talk about slavery in that way. In fact, I don't think it mentions slavery.
Oh, it talks about slavery all the time. Yeah, slavery is rampant, right?
The New Testament?
When Jesus came. Oh, yeah. It even talks about masters treat your slaves well.
This was Old Testament, isn't it?
This is New Testament. Yeah, New Testament.
Okay.
Yeah, so and it's common. I mean, especially in Rome at that time, slavery was rampant. I mean, it was.
And you're saying that that's the physics of the world, and that's the physics of the universe, and that's the right way.
That there's gonna be. Well, I don't want to say right way. I'm not putting.
Well, no, but you say so. You're saying that physics is the way the world is. That means it is the right way because that's the only way.
Well, hang on.
When you go to physics, you're going to something that we can't argue is right.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
we're all saying it's the same thing.
Yeah, whether it's moral, whether you like it or not, or you agree with it, that it doesn't matter. You have to accept that physics is a certain way.
Yeah, and you're saying that the Bible is the physics of the universe,
I believe so. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we start getting into things like versions of the Bible and how they were interpreted and how they were translated, and then
Yeah.
we start getting into other people's books.
Yeah.
Right, we get the Quran and the Talmud and whatever else we've got out there, right? We start going into there, and you're saying that those books of physics of the world or the universe are wrong.
Yeah, I have to come to that conclusion. It's like I don't like saying that,
And as soon as you say that,
but yeah,
you are applying your ego, saying that you picked the right religion, that you are following the right religion. And as soon as that happens, you lose me. I'm sorry. At that point, you're saying 85% of the world is wrong and picked the wrong religion. They built the wrong religion.
yeah.
I don't have trouble. You're saying that God did not come to them and help them write their book? Are you saying that God came to some small group of people based around the Mediterranean and said, "Hey, I'm going to talk to you about this book. I'm going to ignore the rest of the world, which I created." I'm sure if God would come to the Middle East and say, "Hey, this is yeah, I'm here to help you and to guide you and to give you and to help you grow," why wouldn't he have done that with the Chinese? Why wouldn't he have done that with the Aborigines?
Chris, I don't know the answer to that.
And so my point is, if I come up with this theory that, you know, because yours is saying you are the promised people, and this is where the white supremacy idea comes out of. Is the fact that we are the promised people, Europeans, Christians, therefore, you know, God chose us. And this is where the current Christian nationalism in the United States comes
the Jews, not white people, the Jews in particular are God's chosen people.
But by the time you think of Christianity and the impact that it had, particularly with the Crusades, it wasn't the Jews anymore.
Well, that's a different thing. I'm not saying any of that's right. I'm just, Chris, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take away my personal beliefs as much as possible and just look at what the facts are to the best way that I could interpret them. I'm trying to get to the physics as much as possible.
Okay, I see you going down a path I don't see as going to the physics, because I think what's happened is in order for you to believe what you say, you need to believe the fact that other people are wrong and that yours is right. And as soon as you do that without telling me how you're tying this to these are the aspects that are right from my physics book.
Yeah, right.
Unless you can do that and then point to me how the other ones are wrong. Now, if you were to point to me and say, you know what, this thing here in my physics book is the same as this thing here in this physics book.
Yeah, and there are certain crossovers.
Right?
I haven't.
And if you want to say these are the pieces of physics that are the same because they exist in every single religion, they exist in every single book, right? Right. That would be the beginning of me understanding. But then at that point, you're not saying I'm right and they're wrong. You're saying here's the things that are the same. You're not starting from that point. If you start from that point, you've got a different argument with me. You're saying, look at all the religions in the world, and maybe you say look at all the modern religions in the world, because we're no longer, we don't no longer believe in multiple gods and the like, right? I think there are some still religions that may still believe in nature spirits.
Yeah, it's called polytheism.
And Druidism.
It's very common.
Oh, no, nature spirits and Druidism are slightly different than polytheism. Polytheism believes in multiple gods. Druidism usually feels in nature spirits and things that are a little different, right? So they believe in kind of a different breakdown. But Buddhism is still one of the biggest religions in the world, and or Hinduism. Hinduism is polytheistic, right?
Just because there's a lot of people believe it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So I'm not going to fight it out because most people believe it. That's the truth. I can't go down that argument. I've got to look at observable facts as much as I can. And I'm not in really a position to do great apologetics. I'm just telling you this is kind of my hunch that I'm going down based upon some really smart people, right? Based upon Jordan Peterson, based upon that guy I sent you the other day. I mean, so I'm like, those are interesting arguments.
Smart people doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it right, but it's like they can build, but what they're doing, what you wanted is to build solid arguments. I can't build those for you right now.
Yeah. So to me, Jordan Peterson's strongest argument for religion is the societal impact it has. And I would argue the benefit to Western society in the current era compared to other parts. I do wonder if we're going to be overtaken by China at some point, which would maybe make the argument that their viewpoint of society is stronger for the next era of the world. I don't know.
And I'm not saying he's right necessarily, but what I'm saying is like typically the way
you're using it as an
things,
argument to say that you're right.
Yeah, just because that's what my belief is. I'm like, okay, I see that, I see that, I see that, I see multiple arguments from people who have carefully thought this through. I'm like, okay, I can't guarantee that's true, but the probability increases, right? So, because I view things like this is the way my mind works, Chris, is I get different models of the world, different models of how things work, and then there's all these circles that start forming, and then what I start looking at is the area where most of the circles start to overlap. And then I'm thinking in my mind, okay, that's probably where the most truthful part is. So that's the way I approach this.
I don't look at true. Okay, what is truthful?
Well, I probably got to define this. Yeah, right. Sure.
I don't use the word truthful. So what I do is I look at the world and I say, okay, I wouldn't use circles, but I get your point, right? So this is American society, this is European society, this is religion, this is history, and you take all these different pieces and where they overlap. That's I don't say that's where the truth is. But I would say that is where I see connection. What are the things that connect that? And maybe it's Christianity connects a lot of the things that I'm seeing here, right? And so like when I look at Western civilization, I do think Judeo-Christian values, and Christianity in and of itself is what allowed for a lot of what the Western world is today to exist.
Well, and you got to understand that a lot of what's called Christianity does not come from the Bible. They've hijacked the label.
Sure.
So you always have to go back to the original text, right? And
do you?
Well, in my mind, yeah, you got to go back as close to the source as possible. That's why I wanted to spend time learning a little bit of Greek.
If I eat a sandwich today and I put, lettuce and tomato and mayo and mustard on it, do I have to go back to what the Earl of Sandwich ate when he slapped a piece of meat between two pieces of bread? No. I can have a sandwich today that has looks nothing like what the Earl of Sandwich ate when it was invented for him so he could go gambling. So I would say
that analogy is pointless. Actually, I mean,
things change. So if you want to say, go back to what Christianity was at an earlier point, and there's value in that, you can make the argument there's value in that. But I'm going to say, no, I think the value in Christianity is how it adapted to the situation it was in and then allowed the culture to change in ways that we value today, like getting rid of slavery, like a lot of the other things that we value. Particularly in America, the idea of the individual has rights and the individual is valuable and that anyone can learn. And then the work ethic that was built into a lot of the Puritan viewpoint. All of that, to me, is what made America one of the great things. That and the fact that many of the people who came to America were fleeing persecution meant they had a certain mindset to begin with. All of those things, to me, come from in some aspect from the Christianity that grew. And I don't know how many, there's like 2,000 sects of Christianity today that grew from that original Christianity.
And that I don't really, I mean, those are valuable things. I'm not really looking at that. I'm trying to go back to the original source as much as I possibly can.
For what purpose?
To get as close to the original truth as possible. That's what I'm trying to do.
What value does the original truth give you?
Because I believe that's the closest thing to the absolute truth.
And what does being at the absolute truth give you? So there's something that you think. If you say, if I can understand or believe or read the absolute truth, why does that? Why do you want that? What do you think is going to unlock?
I don't know, but that is just the essence of I want to get to the most truthful answers possible. So I need to understand physics at the deepest level that I can understand. Because then I'm confident that if I move forward, I can predict things with more accuracy. I'm more.
Are we talking the science of physics? Or are we talking about the physics of the world? What are we talking about here?
Well, the essence of physics. Right? How
so we're talking electrons and atoms and all that kind of physics.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, stuff that everything is built up from base level stuff, and everything is built up from that. So if I understand the foundation, I'm much.
So there's an underlying belief that you have that the actual physics of the universe, the actual science of physics in the universe, is coherent to a point where you can then get as close to understanding the way the universe was built and why it was built and what it was built for.
Maybe not why, because I don't know that I can get to that, but I can certainly start to understand how a little bit.
But you think that all the rules of physics, everything that exists out there, if you can understand it well enough, will coherently fit into a tight ball that you would call the truth, which is as close to understanding the universe as you could possibly get.
Yeah. That's the general idea. I don't know that it's perfect. I'm not claiming it's perfect, but I think
I'm not claiming it's perfect. I just want to understand where you're coming from, because I don't think that would be like the norm for the average person, because I think you're looking at it from a science is God kind of standpoint, right? And that's a God is science standpoint.
What am I looking at it from?
Science is God means you're a scientist first and you don't believe in God. Whereas I think God is science means that you think you believe in God and you think that science will reflect everything about him. And the better you understand science, the better you'll understand God.
Yeah, 100%. The second one, actually, because I'm like, like when you start to see that things were created, it's like, and you start to understand how things are put together, maybe not why, but how things work. It gives me it gives me a direction to like who or what forces created this. That's what it, to me, it points.
So, so your goal is to okay, let me frame this, is to get as close as you possibly can to understanding what you're calling the truth, which is basically as close as you can get to understanding God.
Yeah, as much as my mind will let me understand. Okay. Yeah.
Now I understand you following the science aspect of it, because you think that it ties in at all levels. That it's going to tie true. That that science isn't going to break somewhere along the way. Because all the way down to its core, it's going to be a coherent. And where does the Bible come into that? Understanding the Bible in its first form.
Because that's the part of faith that I have to have. This is the part that I don't fully understand. This is the part that, and this is, I think, my block to understanding, is that you have to have a certain amount of faith to make all this work. And the only point that I have is jujitsu. So you have to trust the master at some point. Not blind trust, but you've seen enough of it, you're like, okay, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. It's like, okay, I'm going to then take a leap and say probably other stuff that he says is probably right as well, too, as much as I can check it.
Okay, so the problem I have with that is when you're studying jiu-jitsu from your master, you have a direct interaction with your master.
Direct, yes.
Right? You aren't doing that right now with God, right? You're going through a Bible.
Well, no, I have direct access to God. Yeah, of course. The Bible talks about it.
You're using the Bible as your guidance. You're not, and that's like, let me say this. Let's say your jiu-jitsu master dictated a book to someone else.
Yeah.
And said, go use this book to learn jiu-jitsu.
Right.
That's my problem with that. Not only that, not only did he dictate the book, he dictated the book in another language.
Yeah, right.
Right. And then 15 people have reinterpreted it. And it wasn't one book. He did it over the course of years.
Yeah.
And then different people over the course of years have put it together into a book translated from other languages multiple times.
Yeah.
And we picked one of those and said, that's the book you're going to read to learn jiu-jitsu.
Well, I think, you can go back to sources, and it's actually like, it's not as bad.
I understand why you want to go back to Greek to read it, because that gets you closer to
the original source, right?
I get all of that, but you got individuals involved. I don't know, are they writing verbatim? Are they interpreting? All these types of things that we don't know. So again, you have to have faith in someone's translation being true to actual. I mean, there's a lot you're having to take on faith there, right? And again, the word faith is what you're using here. So my point being, I understand you want to believe that the master is giving you guidance.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not your jiu-jitsu analogy doesn't work here, because it
does work.
It isn't the same kind of connection that you've got.
Yes, no, it is. I'm telling you, I'm literally the same connection is what I'm talking
You
about.
believe it is, and then again, I again think this is you. You've made a logical jump here and you're tying it together. But and this is where the whole thing with the Bible comes into play. Is I really don't put much faith in the Bible for anything,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
anyone's
but
religious text for anything.
so here's
So
what I
my
believe.
belief in religion is your relationship directly with your God is what I think is valuable.
Yeah. But here's what I think it is, Chris. I think that I have a direct relationship with God because the Bible talks about that. And it's like I have a certain kind of experience that I'll never be able to prove to anybody. This is why I'm so much on you to go to jujitsu because Chris, you're never going to understand by watching YouTube videos until you actually roll around and have the experience. And then both from your mental part and your physical experience, things will gel in a certain way that you'll never be able to understand. You just can't understand it by intellect alone. That's my general argument. Now, whether that's true, whether it's I'm making it up, highly likely I'm making it up.
No,
But
I believe that's true for a lot of things, right? It's the experience of doing the thing that you're learning.
yeah,
Learning is only part of it. Doing is the other part of it.
yeah. That's why I point to fact when you build, you accelerate that learning process because there's more input
You
into it.
accelerate learning again, and I'm gonna caveat this towards
I
a
know.
goal.
Towards a
Towards a
goal.
goal.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, towards a goal. I mean, because but it's maybe learning is a goal. I don't know. Maybe just
Well, if
understanding.
learning in and of itself is a goal, then maybe you never end up doing anything. But yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is though is that when you do a goal, one of the byproducts is a generalized knowledge and understanding. If you're smart enough to see how the patterns connect, you're like, oh my God, electricity flows like this. I can measure it. I can scale it. There's certain equations that are consistent with physics, which means that now I can extrapolate into how this other thing would work.
Are you saying you can't do that without doing?
Not, yeah, correct. You cannot without doing an observation.
I don't know that I accept that premise.
Yeah, no, I got you. I understand that. Like, for instance, here's like I was watching another guy, and he goes, and this is physics and faith combined. I can't remember who the guy was. I'll try to find the YouTube video, but he was talking about the equations that Einstein laid out. They say a certain things, and he said that we've actually empirically tested certain parts of this equation, and we can verify that it's 100% true. And if that means that all the equations are true, that means we can extrapolate out then that this other stuff is true, like this mind-blowing stuff that you can't even measure. So he's sort of like laying it out. He goes, "This I'm getting this from the equations," and so it does require a bit of faith because it says that we know what we can observe. This part of the equation is true. This other part we don't know, but we have faith because we've observed this other part's true. So we can extrapolate this other thing out. And so that is a different way of integrating faith into this. But have we observed it directly? No, but we're pretty sure it's true.
Yeah, I'd have to follow the logic on that.
Yeah,
and honestly,
it has to do with time travel and the way time moves and all this other sort of stuff.
I will tell you right now, I can probably find a flaw in that logic.
You could, maybe, I don't know. It'd be fun.
Right.
It'd be fun.
The issue that I have is usually when you're trying to prove something as difficult as this,
Yeah.
you make logical shortcuts in various places. So like, oh, here we're using observable fact. Here we're using extrapolation. Here we're using this. Here we're using that. Right.
Yeah.
If you can't be consistent about the entire thing, then it really calls into question where your variances are, and so it makes it difficult for if there's no coherence in your approach, if you've got to take multiple different approaches along the way to get to an end, then you're building in inherent.
Well, it's one approach. I didn't say multiple approaches. I just said that certain, like Einstein's equations, right?
No, if you're saying if there's measurable things, but that there's unmeasurable things, and then the observable things, and now you're beginning to combine different approaches to get to an end.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying in that particular, So he says, we know this is 100% true because we can observe it, right? We can, like,
and that statement by itself makes me wonder. No, I don't believe that. Nothing's 100% true.
well, no, because we observe it. Because the equation predicted how light would bend around the sun. We've actually measured it,
but
and
Scott,
it bent
we only
exactly
see light
like
in certain spectrum. We only measure light in certain spectrum. How do we know that there are things that we're not observing?
Because the part that he predicted is what we've observed the behavior to be. So if that's true, right, and it's observed true, and everybody agrees to it, all the major scientists agree, then it's like now we can sort of start to say that maybe these other parts are true too, even though we haven't observed them. That's the faith part.
So Scott, you're saying that if everyone agrees that what they see is true, now we're getting to you're going off of the beliefs of a bunch of people, which you earlier just said I can't. Just because a lot of people believe in something doesn't mean it's true. You said that earlier.
Because, right, exactly, yeah, right.
So
right.
again, just because a bunch of scientists believe something, does that make it true?
I'm not saying
you've got to be coherently you got to be coherently consistent in the way you're looking at people's beliefs and what their value is in your equation for me to accept.
When I say they believe it, it's observable. It's like, here's the recipe, and we observe this over and over and over again. So now we tend to believe that maybe the rest of the stuff is true as well too.
So you're saying there's a difference in level of belief, type of belief. There's belief that you accept and belief that you don't accept.
Well, I mean, let's talk about it in particular physics and Einstein's equations, right? So because that's I think that's easier to prove because there's certain parts that are directly observable, and you can observe them at any time you want, right?
Easier
you can reproduce this
again. So we're getting into semantics. Okay, I think you're saying prove meaning I can point to observable facts that reinforce the idea that this is the way the world is.
Yeah. In more precisely, let's say this: the equation predicts this. Exactly, and we observe that.
And what we observe seems to tie to that equation.
Doesn't seem to, ties to it. 100%.
You're saying what you observe is real, then? I nitpick my words here because you are stating a fact as this is the fact. What I observe ties to the equation, and I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm too much of the person, the scientist, to think there are things I don't know, things I can't understand, things that I can't yet understand. And for me to say that this is the way the world is, at one point, doctors said tobacco was not good, it was not bad for us, and the world changed. Our understanding of the world changed. So, I'm going to say right now, what you observe, and the equation you're tying it to, may not be the whole picture, and therefore, from the current way we look at it, it looks like what we observe is tying to this equation. And for the moment, we're going to accept that as the way the world is.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say that, I mean, but that's observable truth, right?
This is why I think there is no absolute truth, or I can't say that correctly, that there's no absolute truth that we can understand today, because we will never understand everything.
Well, yeah, we'll never understand everything, but we do understand certain stuff.
Do we?
Of course. We understand that gravity
works. If you can't understand everything, how can you understand anything?
Well, we understand that gravity works in a very predictable way, and we can observe it. Like over and over and over. Anywhere on the world, you can drop an apple from a certain distance, and you can calculate precisely how long it takes for that thing to hit the ground. Precisely.
And so you don't think that that there's anything that can influence that in a way that would change the rules?
Not that we know of so far. So we know that Newton's equations are accurate, right? They can be reproduced over and over. Anybody can calculate it and then observe it, and they get the exact same answer. Maybe not exactly the same, but super close, right?
Don't say that, because that brings in too much variance right there.
Well, no, but that's true, Chris, right? Because gravity behaves differently depending on where you are, how far away,
at different distances from an object, right? The further you get from the Earth, the less gravity.
But it's close enough, right? This is the difference between mathematics and physics. At some point, it's close enough, right? And I don't mean we're off by a second. I mean we're off by like a millionth of a second. Tiny errors.
Intellectually, I agree with you, but there's something in my mind that's thinking that if you can't do it, if you can't explain the variance, then it's not true. Then
Well,
it's not a principle. It's not a principle.
They do explain it.
So you've got to be able to explain the variance.
They do explain
in which case, I would say there is no variance because you can explain it. I would say there actually is no variance because you found the reason why it's varying.
Maybe, but physics will never say with 100% certainty. But it's so close. It's
which is why I get to the whole idea that when you tell me this is this, I cannot agree with that. Observation is the equation. No.
But at some point, Chris, it's close enough, right? It's close enough to build an airplane.
For us to have a conversation for the time being, and we leave this little tiny bit of doubt out there to fix when we learn more.
Yeah, but that's physics, man. I mean, but it's close enough to make an airplane fly. It's close enough to make a dude jump out of an airplane and hit the ground safely, right? It's close enough.
Mm-hmm. But I'll never say it's 100% true because science can't say that.
Then science can't say, but okay, then at some point, though, this is the difference between a physicist and a mathematician, right? You can keep dividing a distance, and you'll never get there. At some point,
so you can make the airplane fly.
Yeah,
you can make the airplane fly by building something that will take advantage of our understanding of the world.
Right? Exactly.
But that doesn't mean your understanding of the world is perfect.
Well, you have to define what perfect means. Then at that
is 100% accurate. So maybe all it takes is 95% accuracy understanding of the world to make an airplane fly.
Yeah. I now listen.
You're going to say that airplanes fly, and that's a fact. And I'm going to say, well, given the 95% accuracy that you need for this, yes. But if something changes in our understanding, maybe we're saying airplanes don't really fly the way we think they do.
Chris, you got to understand something. This is not 95%. This is like
99.9999999, whatever number. The point is, it's never 100.
This is not 95%. This is so
it's never
close
100.
So close to 100. Just let's call it 100. That's what a physicist does. A mathematician won't do that.
No, the mathematician will. What do you mean won't do that?
No, here's the thing, right? So a mathematician says if you just keep dividing the distance in half. He said, you'll never truly get to zero, right? You'll never get the mathematician. But the physicist said, look, we're close
No. The premise of that entire thing was always dumb in my mind. There's a premise saying that you can never get to something because you can only get to half. Where is that logic coming from? Where does the idea that you can only go half the distance? That premise never made sense to me. It's like you can never go the full distance. But that makes no sense. You can.
Well,
right?
but Chris, if you understand matter at a deep level, actually, nothing could ever touch anything because of these forces that will repel that stuff. They never can touch. But it's
define
close
touch
enough.
Wait, define touch.
That two particles, like two electrons, will actually touch each other. They never will touch each other, ever.
Okay,
they can't.
Sure.
Right. In fact, even to talk about position of electrons, it's in a field that's a probability field,
so
right?
Two electrons, two atoms aren't going to be able to touch each other. I get that. Okay, so right. What does that have to do with
But here's my point, though. But it's close enough to make an airplane fly. It's close enough to calculate.
I'm going back to the having.
Having right. A mathematician says they'll never touch. Never.
So the electrons will never touch. But I'm not talking about electrons. I'm talking about two metal surfaces or something else. I'm not looking at the electron here and the electron here and saying they're never going to touch, because the structure of the metal and the structure of the metal here, or my hand on my hand, is. I'm not looking at it at the atomic level. I'm looking at it at a higher level. And
Chris,
so you tell me they're not touching. Yeah, they are touching by that definition.
They're not. They're never touching. They're not touching. You think they touch. They feel like they touch. You can rub them and they get friction, but they're never truly touching.
You can rub them and they get friction.
Right, because they never truly touch.
Let's go into what do you mean by touch? The forces between the two are rubbing against each other?
But what I'm saying is like the atoms, the electrons never truly touch.
So what? I'm not talking atoms and electrons. I'm talking my hand.
But your hands never touch either. You're abstracting up. I know. Scott, this is what I'm saying.
Scott, you are defining touch in a way that is not the way the average person in the world defines touch.
Well, we didn't talk about the average person. I'm talking about how physicists.
So let's get into semantics. What does touch mean? And if you say it's two electrons actually in contact with each other, yeah, that's not going to happen. I get that.
That's not going to happen, actually. Right.
So what?
It's not going to happen.
You want to get into the 99.9999999. This is touching in the 99.99999 sense of the word.
I know you're agreeing with me now. You're agreeing with me. This is what the physicist says. It's close enough. We just call it touching. But technically, it actually never really touches.
No, you've changed the definition from touching to touching. It's close enough that it's touching, but it's not really touching, is what you're saying.
No, it's close enough.
You're using two different definitions of the word touch.
Touching means if it's going to touch, it means there's zero distance between the two of those.
Okay, then this isn't touching.
That's right. It's not. But here's the thing. It's close enough, and we just call it touching because it's good enough, and that's what a physicist does. It's good enough.
And I would say that definition is not the agreed upon definition of touch. You're using a different word to define touch. You're using a scientific idea and calling that touching.
Physicists know this, and they use different terms for different. It depends on what scale you're looking at. In the physical world, we call this touching. It's close enough, right? But technically, the electrons will never touch. Yeah, but it's close enough.
Okay. The average person isn't talking electrons. They're talking about other
I'm not
things.
talking about the average. I'm talking about the highest level physicists in the world, right? And mathematicians. They'll use the word touch, but they know technically it's not touching. And there's no confusion to them.
Yes.
So they're using the word touch in two different ways. Yes. Okay. But everybody understands that.
All right. So then now we go back to this idea you're saying that the airplane will fly.
It's good enough to make it fly. Yes.
Yes. And so the average person will say the airplane will always fly. Well, I don't know if they'll actually say that.
Well, but not always fly, but the airplane flies, right? It's physics, right? As long as you have these particular inputs in, the airplane will fly. Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
But you're going into not the scientist viewpoint. You're going into the more normal, I guess, normalized viewpoint that the more average person is going to view.
No. Now this is what I'm doing. I mean, and extrapolating out from this, now they're saying we understand using Newtonian physics we can make an airplane fly. Einstein came along and said, yeah, that Newtonian physics works as long as you don't go too fast, right? When you start to go too fast, approaching, even some percentage of the speed of light, it becomes more complicated. So now I have to have a more complicated set of equations that will model this, that it's not operating in this narrow little band. Now it's interesting. Like if you take Einstein's equations and you plug a speed of 0 in, you get Newton's equations, which is really fascinating. Do you know that, right?
Yeah. So
Newton's equations works in this limited band.
What does that have to do with flight? Because flight is a very specific set of equations that talk about lift and speed and all that kind of stuff.
Newton. These are all
yeah.
physics,
So
right?
what does Einsteinian physics have to do with flight here? I don't know what you're getting at.
When you start to go faster, things start to behave differently. When you start to approach the speed of light, things are different. Newtonian says this stuff works as long as you don't go too fast. It works, right?
So what is the impact of going faster? What is the impact of going the speed of light?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
So what is the impact of as we approach the speed of light?
As you approach,
I think you're talking about time and time dilation here.
Yeah, things start to change.
Newtonian physics is really centered around forces of physical forces on the shape of the airplane, of the wing, or whatever. I don't think we're talking about the same. We're not measuring the same thing, is what I'm getting.
No,
at.
we're measuring exactly the same thing. It's just the parameters around it. So this is what I said.
You're measuring time in Newtonian physics?
Yes, of course. Yeah, right. The time is created by gravity, right? So this stuff is all mixed in together, actually. So what Einstein did is said, well, yeah, that's true, but really gravity is something different, actually. We have to
none of this has to do with making an airplane fly. This has to do with applying speed to Newtonian ideas.
The Newtonian is a subset of Einstein's equations.
No, I get that, but I don't think the see, I'm stuck on this airplane thing. So the formulas we use to calculate lift and the ability to fly,
Yeah, right.
right? We're not using in the Einsteinian equations you're talking about.
Because you don't need to, because we're not going fast. And when I'm
All
saying
right,
fast,
but you're drawing a comparison between the two, and we're not measuring the same thing. Just because you can take the Einsteinian equations and put in low-level speeds and explain aspects of what happens in Newtonian physics, I think we need to get away from the airplane analogy here. We're no longer talking about an airplane. We're talking about the Einsteinian. We're talking about how the world works in Newtonian physics, not airplanes specifically, just in general. And that we're saying that when you go too fast, when the speed starts to break out of that, Newtonian physics breaks down.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
about
right,
airplanes,
exactly.
just in general.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Okay, so you went from airplanes to general, and I'm still stuck on airplanes. Okay, so you went to general Newtonian physics. Okay, I got it. All right. Yes,
Okay.
I agree with all that.
Okay, good. Yeah, and it's funny because if you take Einstein's equations and plug a speed of 0 in, you get Newtonian equations. You get
Or
the
whatever,
same
10
thing.
meters a second or whatever the speed is.
Yeah, right. But when I say that's equivalent to 0, I know it's not exactly 0, but it's close enough.
Well, you don't want to put a 0 in because that gives you a different calculation problem.
But
right?
in the relation
It's
to the
hard to
speed of
calculate with zero,
light,
so you always
airplanes
have like
move at like
0.00001.
they move at like 0 speed. Basically,
Yeah.
it's close enough. We just call it 0.
If light speed is c, then you're going to have some 0.00001 c.
Yes. All that's true. But just to simplify, we call it 0. It's close enough.
Oh
right?
gosh, no, you can't call it 0.
But physics says it's all the time.
Zero makes the formula break
No, it doesn't. Not Newtonian
because
physics.
then it
doesn't
becomes a
break.
zero value.
Yeah, but you set the speed at 0. So all I'm saying, Chris, is like I don't want to argue.
Multiplying
'Cause
by 0 will make it a 0. So
Okay,
you don't
listen.
want it to be a 0 value.
Chris, listen to me. You don't understand the equations, actually. You really don't know what you're talking about. And I'm tired of arguing. Just go back, study physics, study this. This is well known, well understood. You can learn it in a 10-minute YouTube video. I don't know why we're arguing this. This is accepted. Physics says, look, it's close enough to 0. We call it 0. It's close enough. And this
In the
happens
math.
all the time. In the math.
In the math,
All
you're
the time. This is just universally accepted among every single physicist in the world. And now there's times when you get tiny variances, tiny. Like maybe if we're on top of Mount Everest, right? Truly, gravity is not exactly, it doesn't follow at exactly that same rate. But it is like we're talking hundreds of millions of seconds slower. 0, effectively. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, is it exactly the same? No, but close enough.
Yeah.
I understand that may bug you. I mean, that's okay if it bugs you.
That isn't
Fine.
science. I'm sorry.
What's that? Feynman talks about this. Every physicist talks about it, but it's just universally accepted. Close enough.
Universally accepted that 0 is the number we use for speed.
Yeah. On Earth, on planet Earth, yeah. Even moving around, even going to the moon, it's like it's close.
But if you really want to get an accurate calculation, you don't use 0.
Yeah, but it's accurate enough, Chris. It's close enough to land on the moon. For the applications it's close enough to make an airplane fly. It's close enough to circle the moon in an orbit. I mean, it's close enough. It's
But we wouldn't be using Einsteinian physics to make an airplane fly, would we?
We don't need to. No. But here's the thing, though. If you want to use a GPS to precisely locate something on the Earth to within maybe an inch or a centimeter, it's like, now it matters. So now we've got to start to put in some Einstein physics into this because time does dilate. And there's a difference enough in the time, not a significant difference, but it's enough to maybe you might be off by 20, 30, 40 meters. So yeah, it matters. It depends on the application. But what you typically want to do is you want to simplify the equations, abstract enough from the absolute truth, just enough to make it work in this application. That's Ohm's law, man. It's not exactly right, but it's close enough. Like if you want to understand precisely how waves and magnetism works, you go to Maxwell's equations, but they're complicated. And if you just assume certain things are true, that you're operating within this abstract thing, you can just cancel certain things out, set them to 0, set them to 1, so they cancel out. And now you get these really simple equations, and they're good enough.
And your goal in using them, is to do what?
To be able to predict things. Like if I know Ohm's laws, I don't need to go through and run Maxwell's equations. Way more complicated. I can take a simplified version called Ohm's law and get basically the same answer. I mean, this is universally accepted physics, Chris. This is nothing to argue about.
What I'm trying to understand is what is the goal of using a simplified equation here is what I'm getting
Because it's simpler. It's easier to calculate.
It's easier to calculate, and you're saying it's good enough, but to do what? To do more science or to build something?
No, good enough to build whatever I want to build. Good enough to build an airplane. Okay. Good enough to make a cell phone work. Good enough, right? Now, in certain cases, good enough. It's not good enough to precisely locate GPS. It's not good enough because there is some time dilation going on. There's some speed going on. So now they've got to start to use a little bit of Einstein stuff in that to get a better answer. There, it's not good enough. But if you want to go circle the moon, land a man on the moon, Newtonian physics is good enough. Because I don't care if I'm...
Newtonian physics is good enough because the speed differentials you're talking about, we're not moving anywhere near light speed.
Right. Now, and it may be that literally I might be 1/100th of a millimeter off on my landing spot. It doesn't matter. It's close enough, right?
Would it be that small?
I don't know. I'm making that up, actually. You'd actually run the actual equations.
I'm trying to remember, like when we were trying to figure out the traveling near light speed or whatever versus traveling on, traveling on the Earth at the speed the Earth was moving versus not standing still in space or something like that, right? And the problem is we also, so there are times when we do simplify, right? So obviously when you're on the Earth and you're spinning this way and it's moving through space, you're not going in a straight line. You're doing this, which means your speed is actually a little different, right?
Yeah, right.
You'd have to calculate forward, backward, all that kind of thing. So instead, you just kind of use the center of the Earth as your speed.
Yeah, it's an average, right? Exactly.
Right. And so you could calculate this out, but that would be a more complex thing. But I forgot what it was. Like over the course of 100 years, it was like a 0.03 second difference or something. I forgot what it was, but I remember calculating that stuff out.
Yeah, is it precise? I mean, it depends. What level of precision do you need, right? That's the question. And so you want whatever level of precision you need.
From a science perspective, you need to be able to theorize it and to be able to calculate it out to show that what you think the impact is, right?
Yeah.
How you apply that to build something is a different thing.
Yeah, you typically apply the simplest equations that you possibly can.
That I can see. So when you're talking about building, I understand the idea of simplifying the equations. I really do.
Yeah.
And when you're just trying to prove ideas or theories, then you can also simplify just to get the gist of it. But when you want to, I think, get to the point where you're really understanding how that works, I think you need to use the best equations you've got, which are probably the more complex ones.
The best approximation, because no equation is going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And it may not be perfect because you just can't measure all the variables in it, right? I mean, the system just might be too complex to predict.
Well, I mean, the whole idea of quantum is that we're guessing, we're using probabilities on where things are.
Probability, right.
And we don't know where they are. And in fact, we may never know where they are because we can't measure them.
Until you observe them. And then when you observe them, you lock them in place, which is weird,
well,
right?
In some cases, we can't even observe them, right? I mean, we know they exist because of calculations, but we don't really know that they really exist because we've never been able to see or measure them.
Yeah, but
the only kind of measurement we have is that there's a calculation that says something has to exist here. Let's give it a value, and let's play around with it and see what happens when we change the variables. Okay, this seems to be a relatively constant value here, whatever this thing is. So there's something here that we're going to give it this value.
Yeah, and so this is one of the reasons I tend to, and I'll build more arguments for you later. Now if you care about this stuff, but there's just certain constants in the universe that if they're a little bit more or a little bit less, nothing would form. Matter wouldn't form. I mean, it's like to get around the fact that it just came randomly by chance and it wasn't engineered. I can't get there in my mind,
everything you just said argues the other way to me.
What do you mean?
That there's some constant in the universe that has to be that constant to make matter coalesce or whatever.
To make
whatever
a
you want
sun form,
right?
to make this, right?
So if you believe that there is the possibility that there could be endless universes, we just happen to be in the one where that constant worked out that way.
I mean, it could be.
I mean, every probability thing, everything that could have been different than it is in our universe, just happens to be the way it is. And I mean, it's kind of a broken way to look at it, right? In a universe of infinite universes, then everything is the way it is because that's the only way it could be. The only way we could exist is because that constant had to be what it is. The universe where the constant was different never came into an existence, or never got further into an existence. Right?
But then,
and so it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like everything is the way it is because it had to be that way to be the way it is.
Well, that's a circular argument, right? I mean,
it is.
It's
but,
chicken
but,
or the egg, right?
But the idea is saying someone had to make the constant. No, there were septillion different consonants, constants. What's that? What I want? Right? Constant values out there.
Yeah.
And only 3 of them went beyond the first second. Only 3 billion of them went beyond the first second.
Maybe, if that's true. I mean,
right?
Here's the thing,
and that
Chris.
doesn't discount the fact that God could have created all of them.
Right. But here's the part. This is just down to a fundamental belief. This is where faith comes in. Do you believe in God or do you not believe it? And then based on that belief, everything else gets created.
So in mine, it doesn't matter if you believe in God or not, because anything that exists could have been created by God. And if that's a multiverse or if that's a single universe, it doesn't matter. It could all have been created by God. In fact, I think the idea that there's only one universe and it was created by God is, again, us thinking that we're special, when it could just be that God said, hey, you know what? I'm going to go experiment with what I can do in the universe. And he created an infinite number of universes, of which some small percentage of those got to a point, and we're not the only one out there, that the only universe out there with human beings on it. There might be possible. 1 million of them, 1 billion of them, 1 trillion of them. I don't know.
We don't know. We can't observe them.
And we have no way to observe them, so we don't know if we're special or not. We think we're special, but who knows? Of course,
we're special. Yeah,
right? And at when the end times come, maybe only one of them exists. Maybe there's 1 million of them that exist. Who knows?
Yeah.
Again, since I don't know what the purpose of the universe is, for me to assume that God only made one is as fallible as saying God didn't create it at all. Why would there only be one? That, again, you have to have so many pre-built beliefs and principles in your idea, some assumptions in there, that means we are the one and there's only one, versus and that discounts the idea of aliens, and that discounts the idea of all these other things that we tend to think is our possibility.
Well, I don't discount that. It's like, I just don't know, right? I can't.
I don't know either.
I can't.
But
observe
I theorize,
it, right?
I theorize, right? And when I theorize, so this is the thing is, I can accept that there's a supreme being that created everything.
Yeah.
I can't accept all of the conditions that humanity puts on that. The conditions that we are the special one. Not only are we the special one, but within our world, this is the right one and that's the wrong one. All of those conditions all together, to me, are actually negative against the predominantly Western viewpoint of religion and God.
Well, that's why it all comes down to faith. There's no way
and that's the
around
excuse.
the faith.
It may be right, but that's also the excuse.
It could be an excuse. It's always the God's in the gaps, right? I mean, that's the general
argument,
actually.
It might be right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, but that is the excuse to not have to explain anything.
Oh, I don't think that's true. That's
yes, it is.
Because I think things can be explained.
Simpler people just use that. Those who think more about it, like you, will put more thought into it and try to explain more of it, and you'll build more of a framework based upon things like science and the laws of physics and other things. You'll build more of a framework. Your framework will begin to stray a little bit from the outright story we have from the Bible, but you'll still try to build it into as much of that as possible. My problem is literally that to really accept that the universe is the way it is and to believe in God the way everyone wants it to be, there's a disconnect there, because that would mean there's something you've got to square in not in Genesis, but maybe in the story of Adam and Eve and the story of some of these other things. You got to square that with things like evolution. You got to square that with the Big Bang. You got to square that. Doesn't mean God can't make all that happen, but what it means to me is you've got historical evidence, and I'm going to call that the Bible, that things were a certain way, that some people accept 100% without question, and others who still believe in God who don't accept it 100% without question.
I don't know that you have to square it or not, Chris, because now they're even questioning the Big Bang. They don't even know if that's true or not. That was always the theory, right? Now they're thinking, we're not sure.
So what does the existence of the Big Bang? To me, the Big Bang doesn't eliminate the idea that God created the universe, and the fact that the scientists think that somehow that kills God doesn't make any sense to me.
But here's the part, though, right? This is why I said you got to pick where your starting point is. So many scientists don't believe in God; they believe it's possible. So now it's like, now we've got to put another explanation for that. So then we come up with a Big Bang, we come up with this, we come up with all these other things.
The Big Bang doesn't discount God to me, though.
No, but it does for them. That's the
because they're idiots.
Well, I'm just saying that's the common thing from really smart people are saying that, right?
Well, a lot of people would say evolution discounts it, but then again, that's because they're saying that if you follow the Bible 100%, evolution doesn't seem to tie into Adam and Eve. And I'm saying,
assuming evolution's even true, there's so many assumptions that evolution's never been observed.
So I'm gonna go for the moment assuming the evolution is true. Even if I accept it as true, does that mean that Adam and Eve couldn't have been a story over billions of years?
No, you could. Yeah,
I mean, then you question the story. Did the storyteller take some license to make it more palatable for the listener to understand? And really, you can. So there's all kinds of ways to connect it together.
Yeah.
I don't think anything in science disproves the idea of God.
That's why, Chris, I think more and more you've got to. It's like faith comes first. That's the first thing. What do you want to believe, and then you got to go prove it. That's the way I think most people operate. And
that's fine. That's fine. So that's not the way my mind works, though.
I know, I understand, but it's like it's not the way I want it to work either. But I'm starting to think that might be the actual way it works, because
there's nothing in my mind that makes me think that that's the way it works.
Yeah, I know because you've decided.
I don't know what I would have to experience to make me begin to think that.
Yeah, no, I got you. That's a good question. Yeah, what would you have to experience?
So so now we're going to go back to things like how much of this is you being controlled by society and the way you've been taught.
There's no doubt a significant portion of it.
Obviously, if you grow up in a religious family, you're more apt to be religious or anti-religious. Obviously, because that can have an impact on you, right?
Yeah.
So how much of this is because of the way you grew up? How much of it is because of the society you live in? How much is because, and how much of it is because there is an underlying, we'll use the word truth here, the underlying truth to it.
Yeah. That's interesting. I don't know. Don't know any of the answers to those questions.
And if we look at successful cultures and societies in the past, it's such a complex idea that in order to believe anything, there has to be shortcuts that are made to believe it. And those shortcuts will always be questioned by anyone who wants to question it.
Always. Yeah.
Right? But I find the same is true of modern day science, is people are making shortcuts even in modern day science. And they aren't defending science the way they did in the past, where they did the due diligence to be able to say, this is what I know, this is what I don't know. The expectation today is they just say this is the way it is, without bringing out the caveats to it.
Yeah,
and I think that's the problem. We live in a world where everyone wants to know the fact when nothing is truly a fact anymore.
Well, it's not, modern science is just a religion, just like any other religion, right?
Yeah, the organization took up, just like people who complain about the church versus religion, right? There's religion, and then there's the institutionalized religion.
Yeah, right.
There's science, and then there's the institutionalized science. Right? Yeah. There's actually everything has an institutionalized. There's medicine, and then there's institutionalized medicine. Yeah, right. And I don't mean insane asylums. I mean the institution of medicine.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Everything. Once people get involved in organizing something, other stuff leaks in.
all the time. And so this is why I'm saying I think everything maybe start with faith. I think everything starts with faith. Now that I'm just rethinking this whole thing right now.
Everything starts with faith.
Yeah, what do you want to believe, and then you go try to prove it.
What do you? Okay, that to me that's a little different. What do you want to believe?
Yeah, but I call it the same thing or close enough, you know.
No, to me, faith is the belief in something without being able to logically prove it. Or not? Maybe do you? I mean,
Well,
could
no,
I
because
say
it could be the
could I
logic.
say I believe in gravity, or I have faith in? Could I say I have faith in gravity?
Yeah, of course. You believe in gravity, have faith. Yeah, of course. To me, it's the
Is it
same
the same
thing.
thing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in my mind, I mean, there may be tiny technical little differences, but for this, I'm just trying to frame up just the general
To me,
concept of the idea.
I feel believe and faith are not identical.
They may not be 100%. I'm not arguing they're identical. I'm arguing they're close enough, right? That they're over in that direction.
I don't know that I agree with that.
Okay.
I need to look into that more to figure out why that doesn't feel right to me. Maybe I'll come to that agreement, but I don't agree with that because I think what do you want to believe is not about faith, or maybe that is faith. I have faith in this, therefore I want to believe. I have faith in X, therefore I want to believe Y, or is everything what do I want, therefore I believe, therefore I have faith.
Yeah. I think that it probably starts with what you want to believe or what you want to have faith in. But typically faith is not just a blind faith.
You need to clear that up. What you want to believe or what you want to have faith in. So then it's faith, then belief in the way you just said that is the way I'm interpreting that.
But I'm calling them the same thing. So
yeah, and to me, I think I have faith in the idea that there's something outside of humankind that created the universe. I have faith that mankind is the highest epitome of life on Earth, and therefore, we need to center on ourselves. I have faith that human society, it can get better. I mean, to me, there's all these. Maybe those are beliefs. Some of those are beliefs. I know some of those are beliefs, but where does it come from, right? I mean, if I think that we are all in charge of our lives and the world we make around us, that I could do that and still believe in God, like the deists did.
Yeah.
Or I could or maybe I can't believe in God because that would say that, if it's all on me, then maybe there is no God, right? So I could come up with a couple of different viewpoints.
Could be,
from that.
Yeah.
So I think there's an undercore, like there's a core. There is a core belief or a core faith or a core idea. Why do we have that? And that's where I think you're going to. It goes, what do I want to believe? What do I want?
Yeah, and I think that's built in.
I want comfort. I want knowledge. I want power. I want whatever. And then from there, I figure out what my faith and beliefs are.
I think, maybe Maslow's got it right. First of all, you just got to
come down to a core desire.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's built in, man. I think it's literally. So this is why the Bible talks about two things, and I think they operate simultaneously. One is predestination, and the other is free will. And it appears that both are working simultaneously. I don't think they're mutually exclusive necessarily.
Again, it's a definitional thing.
Yeah.
The way I define the two in my mind, they are mutually exclusive. And I think the argument you're making is and we've talked about this before, is that they're not mutually exclusive. But then by that definition, I think the free will is not truly free will, the way you're thinking of it.
Yeah, and I think you got to ask, like, how much free will do we have? I don't think it's like, do we have free will or not?
At that point, so then it's not free will. You've now quantified the level of free will.
No, it's not.
And at that point, to me, it's not free. Free will is pure. It's 100%. You have free will, or you don't have free will.
Yeah, I don't think so, Chris. I think that's a very what's the right way to say it? Very black and white, immature way of looking at things. Most things are in that way.
It's a very black and white way to look at it. But if you used a different term that said we're going to scope free will into this in this realm, and we're going to scope predestination into this realm, now you're nuancing that definition. In which case, I might go, oh, I can see that. But to me, without you nuancing that definition, they're very clear what they are. So if you want to nuance the definition, saying you have free will in certain areas of your life, you have predestination in other areas of your life. And here is the breakdown of how I look at that. And then you would logically explain to me how you break that down.
Well, I think that's what I just said, right? They both operate simultaneously.
Yeah, but you haven't given me any of the breakdown to understand it. So my understanding is still black and white. You need to nuance it to show how they fit together, right?
Well, I think they fit together. I got to go pretty soon too, Chris. I think they fit together.
Oh crap!
This is just my thing. So this is like, so God created every single one of us, and He literally wrote in your code, like in your DNA, you're predisposed to certain kinds of likes. And we see this in kids, right? Kids are just different. They just tend to like go one direction versus another. So I don't think it's exclusively, I think they operate together, but then you also have a certain amount of agency. You have a certain amount of choices that you can make. And I think that probably we have less choice than we think we have. But still, it's not unlimited. But still we do have some agency. Just how much, right?
So there's a fundamental principle here that I've heard one of the current philosophers mention quite often, and he doesn't believe that there is free will. He believes everything is predestined.
Yeah.
And he's breaking down physics to a point where he says every person, every individual is made up of their DNA, their genetics, right, their biology, their experiences, their upbringing, their culture,
right,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Given all of that, in any particular moment where you're making a choice, and whatever you ate that morning, and whatever chemistry is going on in your head, and whatever drugs you're on, or whatever it is, all of that can be calculated to know what decision you're going to make. Now he couldn't calculate it, but saying that all that information exists, and if you could write down every single variable, you know what decision that person's going to make. So therefore, it's no free will; it is predestined.
Yeah, but see, quantum physics disagrees with that at the core level, right? It disagrees with that.
Explain. I'm not disagreeing, but explain how you're making that tie.
So basically, at the quantum level, like if you go down to the atoms, like we don't know where the electrons are. It's a probability field. And if it's a probability field, that means that there's a certain amount of randomness in there. And it could be that we just call randomness something we're unable to predict, right?
It could be that we just don't have the ability to measure that yet. And maybe quantum is not probability. Maybe it is a measurable thing, and we just don't know how to measure it yet. And this guy is basically saying, if you knew how to measure every single piece of evidence or whatever that goes into a human being at a particular moment in time, you would be able to predict exactly what they would do. Not a probability, but exactly what they would do, which would be the argument for predestination.
But most scientists disagree with that. They're thinking it is truly random.
Because someone believes it doesn't mean it's true.
I know. But it's the best guess we got at the current time, right?
So I don't necessarily agree with this idea. But part of the elements I do agree with. I do think that things are much less free will than people want to believe.
Yes, right, exactly.
That basically, your upbringing, whatever trauma you apply to that, whether you overcome that trauma, what your religious background is, what your economic and educational background is, what you ate that morning and how you're feeling today, if you're sick, if you're healthy, all those things do impact your decision making.
Yeah, of course.
So I would say your free will is impacted by all those things.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. How much
but
of it is?
I would not say it removes all free will. But I do also have this philosophy that if you go and break down everything to the point where you understood every aspect of how the universe works, you could predict the next outcome, which then kind of ties in with this predestination idea. So I've got a dichotomy of belief in my understanding.
But even if that's true, right? Even if that's true, we can't. Which means there's some form of randomness into it.
But Scott, again, science knows that we've not reached the limits of our understanding. We just don't know what the next understanding
Depends on how you
is.
define randomness. I define randomness, it's unable to be predicted, right? That's called random to me.
Mm-hmm. And for all we know, there is no randomness in the universe. We have no ability to understand it yet.
Could be, or there truly could be, like literally God could have built randomness in, aka free will,
and
into
every
his
time
creation.
we learn something new about science, we learn, oh, well, that wasn't right, and that wasn't right, and this is different, and that's different, right? So I guess, I'm much more inclined to believe that what we know today is not accurate, It's only accurate with how we see the world.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, that's fair enough. Which comes back to my original point is like, how do you see the world? What you want to believe or your faith comes first, and everything else follows. Because because it may be that you're not possible to see something unless you believe it first.
Yes, and maybe you're not possible to delude yourself into understanding something and believing something until you believe it first.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And this again. So my argument that every religion believes they're the right one.
Yeah.
And that to me makes it difficult to believe that there is a right one. And I look at human beings in general. A lot of human beings will believe different things, regardless of what's accurate or not.
Oh, everybody, even inside of a Christian faith, there's a gazillion different beliefs, right?
Yeah, and so to me, maybe they're all right.
Could be. Maybe they're all wrong. I don't know.
Maybe they're all wrong.
I know.
And so I have a hard time picking one, saying this is the right one.
Yeah.
Unless it can help to explain why it's the right one, and I've never seen a religion do that well.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
I'm much more inclined to believe an extracted supreme being associated with the universe than I am with a prescriptive one who's this way and this way, because everything I see and how we describe a supreme being is based on some kind of a human mindset.
Yeah, and that's why the Bible talks about don't lean on your own understanding for this. And I'm like, okay, what else do I got? I got faith. That's all I got. And so to me, Chris, this faith thing, I think is an area that I really need to explore because I think I'm really being held back because of the lack of it.
All our famous philosophers talked about it. So maybe you need to spend some more time really delving into it.
I think this is really going to take me to the next level, you know?
Well, I think it is, because I think what you need to come to terms is, what do you think, how are you going to accept the fact that you're taking things on faith that impact the tangible aspects of your life?
Yeah.
Right? And then when you come to the terms, you know, and it's for you, it doesn't have to be for anyone else, right? But how do you square any edges off of there? How do you, or where was it? How do you sand off the edges of anything that sticks out there so that you can say, hey, this holds true enough for my understanding? I'm not gonna say it holds true for my understanding, because true enough, again, this is where you can only take it so far.
Yeah, it's
and
true
you only
enough.
can take it as far as you are able to see.
Close enough.
Right?
Yeah. Close enough where on a day-to-day basis, we call it, we're calling
and then you can share that with me if you want to, and then I can say, well, but Scott, what about this? This makes no sense to me, and you could decide whether that's something that needs to be explained or not.
Yeah. I think you should do the same thing. This is a journey we're on.
But your goal is to understand faith.
No. My goal is to understand God.
Understand God.
Yeah, I already believe in God.
Yeah, so
my goal is, how can I use faith to get closer to God? How can I use physics and mathematics to get closer to God?
Are those the same thing or different things?
To my mind, there's the same thing. They're just, it's more understanding, right? Which makes me appreciate more.
See, I see those as drastically different things.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I see them as the same thing.
I don't see faith as physics.
Oh, interesting. Because the more physics I understand, the more faith I'll have. Because now I'm like, oh, there's a little bit more.
Yeah. So again, now I think we're getting into the definition of faith and belief, and I think that's where I need to really understand. I don't think we're talking the same definition of words in the things we're using, and therefore,
obviously not. Yeah.
Therefore, I think that's where some of the variance comes from. I think there's a variance in belief to begin with, but I also think there's a variance in how we're defining the words.
Yeah. That's it. Okay, this is a great spot to leave it.
Yep. All right. So again, we always forget to tell people to comment and to subscribe and tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we covered things that we want. You know, one thing I wanted to cover, and we'll need to cover it next time, is Chat 5.1, Gemini 3.0. Have you seen the AGI scores for Gemini 3.0 Pro?
Yeah, it beats everybody, right? Everybody agrees
like
it's the best model right now.
You know, the AGI 2 score, it's like a 45%, whereas I think 15% was where Chat 5 was. Or 5,
interesting. Yeah.
And the Gemini 2.5 was only at like 5%. So this is like a 9 times, 8 times, 9 times increase in AGI, whatever AGI, however they're measuring that power. That's pretty damn impressive. In fact,
so far it's the best model right now.
Nate Jones has been going on and on about it, and then he talked about Nano Banana Pro, which you can't get to through a URL, through a web interface. You've got to go into the API and get it.
Well, you can get through it if you have the Ultra plan, which I have turned on. So I'm gonna.
You go to the web to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to play with it. I think
Nano Banana Pro, right? We're talking about
the Pro 2, the second version of it. Yeah, that's supposed to be really good. Yeah, I'm going to play with it probably tomorrow, Monday.
He was talking about the sheer quality of the graphics.
Yeah,
the ability for it to be creative. He says it's no longer working the way the other ones did. Yeah, it is actually using intelligence in a way it hasn't before. So that was really interesting. Anyway, we'll talk about that more next time.
Yeah, 3 big things dropped this week in AI, and Grok 4.1 came out as well too, which is interesting.
I didn't even hear about that. That must have been kind of under the radar compared to everything else. So we should talk about that next week, and so maybe play around with it this week.
Yeah, I'll play around with it. I've already played around with Grok 4.1. It's pretty good. I don't really notice any significant difference in it, but I guess I'm not asking it hard enough questions.
So Gemini 2.5 I was not impressed with, so I'm going to play with 3.0 and see if it really wows me. If I'm getting 8 to 9 times better results out of it, we'll see.
I don't think you will. My hunch is, it depends on the questions, right?
I did take there's a guy here who says I code with AI, and he uses vibe coding, and I went to an event last week on that was pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
There's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Well, and here's the thing, Chris. This AI thing's getting so good. Probably by the end of this next year, and a year from now, it's not going to really matter. Just whatever tool floats your boat. They're going to be so good. They're going to be able to answer every single question mere mortals were going to want to ask. But
it's interesting because when Nate Jones talks about it right now, at least it's who does this best, right? Claude still writes better than most.
Yeah, right.
This Nano Banana Pro apparently makes really good videos and graphics.
Yeah.
Chat seems to be losing ground as far as those people who are really into AI or LLM seems to notice that everyone seems to be catching up with chat and maybe surpassing them in some areas.
Yeah.
The new Gemini, not Gemini, whatever, the anti-gravity, which is the coding for Google, seems like it's really primed. The one thing he said, which I thought was really cool, was given the fact that Gemini just dropped all this stuff, Gemini's on all the Android phones, and Gemini has been contracted with Apple because Apple doesn't have a good AI.
Yeah, right.
They're going to use Gemini in the background. You are now going to have Apple phones and Android phones are now going to have access to Gemini more natively. We might see Google catch up, if not surpass ChatGPT in adoption here soon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and another thing too is, it's like he never talks about Grok, and I don't know why. I don't know if he doesn't like Grok. He never brings it up. Don't count Grok out because I think they're coming out with
Grok is still a pretty good percentage of the usage out there, right?
Yeah, but Grok 5.
I think Grok is higher than Claude in usage.
Yeah, and
maybe probably because of Twitter, but really, I mean the idea is, that's an interesting thing. Maybe you should comment to him and say, where does Grok fit in all this? Because he talks about Claude, Chat, and Gemini. He doesn't really talk about Copilot, and I think Copilot is in its own little envelope because of Microsoft. But Copilot sucks.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, in comparison.
But I tell you, Chris, I think Grok 5 is going to be coming out early next year, and I think that's going to smoke everybody. Because if you looked, what happened when Grok 4.1 came out, that was on the top of the leaderboard, and then Gemini came out the next day and trumped it. But it's not, Grok 4.1 is not far behind Gemini.
I need to look at the new. I need to look at the new scores on it and see. The one thing I really like about Grok is that they're pushing the edges of kind of the interaction. Yeah. So I've told you the fact that it can use pitch and it tries to sing even though it can't hold a tune. Yeah. And you mentioned the using videos and having it read. Yeah. Have you done that? Have it read expressions?
I haven't. My use of AI has gone down significantly. I only use it maybe like 20 minutes a day now because I'm working on other stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm not obsessed with it anymore. But I think Grok 5. Watch out for Grok 5. I think Musk is gonna shake things up early next year.
Yeah, we'll see. Because I'm not seeing it adopted at the corporate level. I'm seeing Copilot, Gemini, Claude a little bit, Claude and Chat as background LLMs for other tools. Is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I may actually next year I may turn off everything except just for one because at some point you're like it's good enough, right? for the problems I want to solve.
Yeah, I mean, are you coding? Are you doing what? And whatever it is, it seems like Grok is your go-to. So
yeah, Grok's my thing. Although I did shut off the heavy plan of Grok because it was so annoying to me because I didn't see the value in it. So I think I'm going to take that money and allocate it to another month of Gemini, the Ultra, and see what happens.
How much is Gemini?
$250 a month for the premium stuff.
So Grok is 300, right?
Yeah, 300 a month.
Gemini's 250, and then Chat's 200.
I think so. Yeah, but I don't have anything premium turned on right now. Everything's off except for Gemini Ultra, which I got for 3 months at like half price. I pay like $125 a month for it.
Okay.
But I may extend it out.
Claude has what, 100 and 200, I think, as their.
Yeah, I'm on a $20 plan of Claude. It does everything I need.
My Claude is 20, and then my Chat's 20. I'm probably going to drop Chat even at 20, and because I don't use it. I use Claude or Grok or Gemini now. I've kind of switched away from Chat entirely.
Yeah, I haven't used a lot of Gemini. This probably tomorrow or Monday, I'm going to spend a lot of time on Gemini. And
my thing is that it's the main AI tool at work.
Okay, yeah.
So although they've throttled it back, we don't get the new ones. I can't. There's a lot of things I can't do on the work version that I can do on the free
that's
version.
so interesting.
But that's mainly because they want security controls.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's more privacy controls. But yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and hit stop. Everyone, subscribe, comment, tell me why I'm wrong. Tell Scott why he's wrong.
Yeah.
And prove to us that whatever you want to prove to us. Just make sure to explain it when you put the comments in.
Yeah, and just be entertaining. That's all we care about. That's all I care about. Just be fun.
All righty. I'm going to hit stop. 1, 2, 3.